Hey, what's on, guys? Welcome back to Weeb Seen It podcast, episode number 20. My name's Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
And like every other week, we're going to be going over our weekly anime. So we have our set list. But before we get into that today, we're going to talk a little bit about our most recent video.
We managed to get over 1,000 views.
It was the very first video where we hit over that 1K view mark. I know it's not crazy, but we've been, especially since some shows like Attack on Titan and Komodasu have started, we've seen the views slowly grow. So that's really, really cool. Yeah. We do have that the Q&A special coming out. A lot of more people asked questions on the most recent episode, so that was really good. We got like a lot of them from a lot of people.
We've actually had a lot more feedback than I was expecting.
Yeah, the first week I think there was only like 2, maybe 3 people who left questions, so that's why we waited again, and then this week we asked again, and this time a lot more people actually wrote us some. So we are putting that together. It's going to come out about midway through this week. That way it's between this episode and the next episode that we do discussing anime. So look forward to that. It's probably also going to be put on as our like channel trailer, you know, because they want you to do that on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that way people can just kind of go in there. Maybe they get to know us a little bit faster.
True.
You got anything else big you want to talk about before we get into the actual anime this week? Or
I think that was all the big things. So I think let's get into it.
So we are covering. I know last week we did Quintessential Quintuplets instead of Horimiya, and this week we're going to do the same. It's not because Horimiya doesn't have good episodes. This one's just kind of like the end of an arc. And Quintessential Quintuplets.
It's kind of a landmark episode in the series. Well, Horimiya has always got the same development scale. So
yeah. So we're definitely gonna be talking about Quintessential. I'm sure coming in the next few weeks we'll be talking about Horimiya more though. If you're looking forward to that. Okay. So before we get started, like every other week, let's just go over our non-sponsored new drinks. And we are back. Okay. So the very first thing, as always, we are gonna be talking about is ReZero, episode number 42.
Journey Through Memories, episode 42.
Yeah, so like we expected, like we guessed last week, this is very much just an Amelia backstory. We didn't see any Subaru, which is
we got like one little blip of him at one point.
Oh yeah, because they wanted to talk to him. The girls came in and they wanted to speak to him about something. That is because what is their names? Now I can't remember it. Ryuzu.
I always just call them their grannies because of Garfield.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ryuzu is their name, the different ones, but they all have separate names. Can't remember them all.
I think one of them Shima.
But yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, most of it is focused around Amelia's backstory. So it's different than Subaru's, but it's implied that she hasn't actually started the test yet. So
no, this is just her kind of prepping herself for it. So
yeah, because obviously Subaru just immediately goes into the test. He wakes up in in his body back in the old world. And he has to kind of live through his experience and stuff. And this one starts off with Amelia talking with Echidna. Yeah. And instead they're viewing a specific day or a couple days, but from like the outside, you know. So I think this is just about Amelia kind of remembering these things and then accepting them before she goes into the actual trial.
It is, yeah. It's definitely her psyching herself up before she starts.
Yeah, so we obviously get young Amelia, you know, we've been looking forward to. Adorable. I'm pretty sure I've already seen so many memes with young Amelia.
Oh, God, yeah. I think she's probably more adorable than normal Amelia, and people are just latching right onto that.
I mean, to be fair, we already had young Rem episode before, so
yeah, but nobody cared about young Rem.
Well, a lot of people care about Rem though, so that might have been the area where people are like, oh, okay, like you know what, this girl's cute.
True.
I hope not in any sort of waifu way yet. As I specified in the comments one time, there's a difference between best girl and waifu.
There is, yeah.
You could say that Child Amelia is best girl, because she is like I don't know, Amelia, especially in season 1, didn't have tons of personality. That was like one of her things, you know. That's why
she was very much. I want to say Mary Sue, but that's not quite the right term for her.
No, it was just that like it definitely wasn't her time to shine, and that was on purpose. Obviously, as we've seen in season 2, is much more her time.
True.
But she was just kind of bland in season 1. That's why everyone like if you said that you thought Amelia was like best girl, they'd be like, okay, like come on, dude. You've seen Rem. Like Rem had so much more character development. She had the big speech with Subaru about how she loves him. So that's why myself, as an Amelia fan. Everyone was always like, oh, like, really, dude? Like, you don't like Rem more? Look at all these episodes. Like, yeah, obviously you're supposed to like Rem more after season 1 because they took all that time to specifically make her shine.
That is true.
But I believed in what was deep down in Amelia. I believed I saw character there that they hadn't quite shown yet. And then season 2 is making it pay off.
Amelia had more potential. That's how it worked.
Yeah, plus half elf. So, you know, automatically.
Yeah, you definitely have a type.
It's like half elf or half demon. You know, what are you more of a fan of?
I mean, it's personal preference, so...
there is obviously one big shocking thing we get from this episode, which was something that not a lot of people expected. Most of the characters we meet in this episode are new characters, so you meet, what's her name, Mother Fortuna?
Yeah, Fortuna. And then we also got a backstory that no one thought they wanted, but we all are grateful we got.
Yeah, which is old Juice.
Yeah, I did not think we were ever going to see him again in this context.
Well, yeah, if I thought we were going to see him again. I would believe that we could see him again in a flashback, but I wouldn't think of it as like, you know, and like kawaii anime boy.
Yeah.
Because you remember how like fucked up he looked. And obviously he was extremely fucked. He's like always chewing his fingers and shit like that. Like he went crazy, which I am assuming the next episode we're going to learn why he goes crazy.
Yeah. And we're also going to learn like, because Amelia was frozen for a pretty long time, I'm pretty sure.
I would assume so.
Yeah, so that means Juice has just been kicking around this whole time.
Well, even in this episode, he already mentions that he's been living for a long time.
Yeah.
So he is already either immortal or ages slowly. He's already like an archbishop, I think. I just don't think we have always taken it as like these people are evil, but he's not evil. But we're at the end of the episode, we are also introduced, or not introduced. We've seen him once before, but we're reintroduced to another archbishop who is a lot more evil from what we've seen.
Yeah. And the thing I found kind of interesting about Beetlejuice or Basil Juice in this is he openly referred to himself as a sinner, and their entire group is sinners. So that means that they're trying to atone for something, or
yeah, there's a lot of backstory here about like the witches cult that I'm really excited for, because the witches cult still, after watching 42 episodes of the show, you still don't really understand. Like you don't really understand the whole plot that is even going on with like Amelia, but them going after her, and you don't ever really get what the hell their purpose is to begin with. Do they just like worship the witch, and then everything they do is like, it makes sense if we were just given a clear plot. Like, is it to bring back the witch? Mm-hmm. Are they all? Is every single one of their tasks in preparation to bring back the witch? Obviously, this episode we have to ask like, what's the door? What's the seal? What does Amelia have to do with the seal? Like,
yeah, there was a lot of unanswered questions, and even just the spirit showing up and specifically guiding her to the seal seems a little bit suspect. Just from
and I'm assuming the spirit, or at least like the main one that she hangs around with, is probably going to end up being Puck. If I had to guess.
Yeah, because I mean, most of them are referred to as lesser spirits. So
yeah, so one's gonna, unless they all like combine and make a greater spirit, which would be Puck. Because obviously we still need to be introduced to how she meets Puck, which is going to come up soon.
Yeah.
Obviously we're continuing off with her backstory next episode. I think it's going to be just 2 episodes. I don't think they're going to push it into a third.
I mean, because this is basically the end of her flashback of her getting back her memories.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get the resolution to what happened to her, and then we're going to jump straight into the trial.
Yeah. This is so like I don't understand what the trial will be though. It seems like it's so strange because it's so different than the only thing we know of the trial, which is us watching Subaru go through it. Subaru. It's not like Subaru got a chance first to go watch like 6 days of his past and then resolve himself to go into it. He just had to go.
Yeah.
So it's so weird that Amelia just gets to go in here and like prep all this. I know obviously it's just to show us the viewers the fuck happened, but I feel like they could have just as easily done that by putting her into, young Amelia and letting it play through like that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think part of it too is because it's always about dealing with something you don't want to admit to, right? Mm-hmm. Amelia didn't know what she was admitting to, so that might be part of the reason they're kind of giving her this.
It's also there's 2 different things, because like Subaru, for instance, Subaru's trial wasn't dealing with his past. Well, hers is. Putting someone in their shoes dealing with the past just means they're going to try to avoid it and not do it.
Yeah.
Which is very different than what Subaru had to do. He wasn't dealing with the past. He was in like a time that was neither past nor future, and he just kind of had to deal with himself. And
it was more or less a potential future. It's what could have been if he didn't come to this world.
Yeah, his was more like dealing with like his own insecurities about like not living up to his father's name and stuff like that. But Amelia's being the past means that like it would just be kind of weird if her trial was the same as his, being in such a different circumstance. Because if she just went into young Amelia's body, I assume it would just be her. If she didn't like the outcome, obviously, she would try to be changing the past.
Yeah, which I mean, we know wouldn't work. That's not how something
exactly.
like this
So
would.
it doesn't actually do anything. It's just more like an illusion.
Yeah.
So I just feel like different trials for different situations. I guess it's not just one.
That is.
They don't just have one standard. Like, okay, hop in. You're going into your body.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of this too is we're probably going to get to see what exactly froze Amelia in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the key of the trial. Is going to be her facing up to, because I have a feeling it's going to be her fault.
100%. There's also the question that is glossed around about her parents in this.
Yeah, because Fortuna specifically is playing it off as they're too busy and they're off working.
And then at one point, though, Juice mentions her parents in front of her, and then Fortuna like looks mad, like don't talk about that subject, kind of thing.
Yeah, because he specifically said when your parents were well.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me think they're either off sick or they're probably not around anymore.
I'm still thinking it's going to be. Why else would she be so important to like the witches cult unless she was either the daughter or the reincarnation of the actual witch?
Yeah, which I mean, she referred to herself as a witch at one point. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's definitely a strong connection there.
Yeah, there's something going on. Obviously, we're gonna get a lot more in the next episode. Yeah. We're gonna figure out exactly what happens when which sin is he? Is he greed?
I
I think he
Basil?
might be Greed. No,
Or-
the new guy that shows up, the one who was with
Oh.
Gluttony at one point.
It's not Pride. It's not Sloth.
I think it's Greed.
Yeah, it'd be Greed. No, Greed. I thought Greed was the short guy, the one with the teeth.
No, I don't know.
Envy?
No, I want to look it up. Maybe are we sure it's not Pride?
I thought Subaru was Pride.
I don't know. I thought he was Greed. Sin Archbishop. I'm just gonna look it up of Greed. It's probably it is him. So he's Greed.
Okay.
Yeah, Regulus Corneus.
Maybe Sloth was the stubby one.
I think so. Sloth was the one you're talking about, the sharp teeth, that because the two of them showed up.
Yeah.
And one of them was talking about how they killed his monsters or whatever like that. Like he had a connection to them.
Yeah.
Which would have been
that would have been
no, that would have been Gluttony.
Gluttony. That's
Yeah, because Sloth
Okay.
was juice.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, because he'd always like, oh, so slothful. I still don't understand these Archbishop things. I know a little bit about some of the the manga lore and stuff like that from like when I watched season 1, which was years ago. I would look stuff up. I'd be way too curious, so I'd look some things up. So I actually did know something to do with. I did know that like there was going to be at some point like a juice was coming back in. And I think I know some about where his story's going. I'm obviously not going to say it though, because I don't know if it's true or if they're going to stick exactly to that. Because this was like a while ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, like from what I saw last episode, I was like, oh wait, this is starting to click. Like I could definitely see where this episode's going next episode. Which I'm kind of excited to see. The young Juice in action.
Yeah.
Does he still have all the same powers?
It's definitely. I'm gonna say he's probably changed over the years. Like he's probably hasn't been in the exact same state for the last 100, 200 years.
I think after the next episode, he's gonna go crazy.
Oh, probably, yeah. Something's gonna happen. Everyone's gonna freeze, and he's gonna snap as a result.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've obviously seen how much he cares for like Amelia. We don't exactly understand the relationship yet. Once again, my guess is that she's either some sort of daughter or reincarnation of the witch, and since she's an archbishop of the witch's cult, she's like a god to him. Because when he first sees her, he just breaks down into tears. And
Yeah, he has a full-on breakdown in front of her out of sheer joy just having seen her. I can't imagine it not being something to do with her having a direct connection to the witch.
there also is many hints in this about like a romantic connection between Mother Fortuna and him. So I'm thinking this the greed in the next episode either like kills Fortuna and he goes crazy about it, or this like something happens. Amelia does the whole everyone freezes thing, and he's not like he's left unfrozen and he goes crazy because of that.
Yeah.
Or they do a flash forward and maybe it's some years down where he goes insane for some reason. But it seems like when you're introducing a character like this that we already know where they end up, they're not going to like not show what immediately changes him. But it seems like a real drastic change to hit in like a second. To be like that nice guy and then all of a sudden go crazy and start biting the fingers and get the weird insane face.
Yeah, which I mean, that could have been just development over time. Like we could see the seeds of insanity sprout here and then it just kind of get worse over time.
Sure, yeah. They could literally just show it start and then we know how it ends. So you don't really have to show in between as long as you show the start and the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good episode overall. Obviously, a lot of backstory. Nothing surprising. We knew this was going to be a backstory episode or a backstory arc, if you will, about Amelia, which is important. I'm a little curious as to the side story going with with Subaru. Like, what else could he learn right now? Because obviously they want to talk to him. I think that's all we got, right? They wanted to speak to him.
Yeah, I don't think they gave us. They mentioned something specific, but it wasn't earth shattering. It was just kind of giving context, and I'm drawing a total blank on what they said exactly.
But yeah, I don't think I just can't think of like what else is gonna happen. Like, do you have any predictions with what like the door and the seal is?
The door and the seal. Honestly, I'd say the door is probably what freezes everyone.
You think so? You don't think that's just Amelia? Do you think it's like a door sealing Puck? Because we've seen like Puck's like if you consider the fact that maybe Puck's real form is the Puck we see when he absolutely guffs everybody, like the big monster, and you think this is like a door sealing away some sort of like major spirit that's dangerous to the world. Amelia opens the seal, Puck goes inside her, can't control it though, she freezes everybody. Possibility there.
That's definitely a possibility. I think that's actually a really good theory based on what we've seen. So
yeah, I can't think of it. And that's the only thing is once again like a seal, sealing the witch or something along those lines.
Yeah, maybe it's something keeping the witches locked away, because we did see the one witch was kind of tied up in her.
I think that's just her thing though.
I know, but you never know.
But yeah, because I remember there's always the backstory about the main evil witch. Because she's the witch of what? The main one. The Satella, the witch of something. The one who looks just like Amelia.
She might be Envy, actually.
Yeah, she might be.
It was one of those ones that I kind of thought, like, why would that be the dangerous one? And then you realize, like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, the only one. Well, I remember all of them, and like Pride was probably like one of my favorites. I think she was kind of cool.
Wait, Pride was
Pretty sure she was the cool one with like the hard punches, like
the magical girl one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I don't. And Echidna obviously was greed, very greedy.
Oh god, yeah.
But yeah, I don't. Oh, you know what? I just realized that the guy who's greed also looks like Echidna. He's got the pale skin. He's got the platinum hair.
True.
You know, and he's also greed. Now I can at least remember it that way. But yeah, that I always remember there's like the background plot about some sort of like dragon and a seal that like killed the witch or something like that. Like they talked about this really early on in season 1.
Oh my god,
I know, and I always like forget about it completely. I'm like, yeah, but that could have just been like a rumor. Obviously, it's so long that people don't actually know if it's true, if it's just some sort of story. But I don't. There's so much in the ReZero lore that like wasn't addressed for a really long time. We're too busy just kind of seeing stuff about Subaru's own personal arc.
I mean, yeah, we see this with a lot of the shows we talk about. Kumo Desu and Mushoku does it too, where because it's translated from a light novel, there's a lot of small context details that don't get dropped in the anime because they just can't fit it in.
And you can't argue that ReZero's not trying to fit everything they can in. Like once again, this was another 29-minute episode with no opening, no outro.
Yeah, they are not screwing around. They're
doing their best to fit every single piece of information they can for us.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I was the guy who did the opening or the ending, I'd be kind of pissed at this point.
There's something so dramatic about like you still get the credits and stuff like that, but it's just overlapping. You get the like the toned down audio mixed with like the people speaking, stuff like that. It always just seems so much more dramatic.
It does. I think it's because we've kind of associated with the end of an arc or the end of a series because that's how they end like a 24 or a 13 episode anime a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They just do that over like the last credits so that they can get that.
Yeah, that's like sometimes when you're like binge watching a show and you don't know it's the end, and then you see that you're like, oh fuck, is this the last episode? And you check, you're like, of course it is.
Yeah.
ReZero would trick you every single time with that.
I mean, eventually you just start assuming the other thing is like, wait, what do you mean this is the last episode?
Yeah, so obviously we're looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to the conclusion. Yeah, Juice was a huge surprise. I don't know if anybody who didn't read the light novels and like that really expected him coming back for a flashback.
Yeah, I had a hesitation moment. It's like, there's no way it's the same guy.
I'm like, oh, it's great grandson. You know, really nice version.
He starts talking about how he's lived a super long life. It's like he remembers this for. He's talking about an elf. He remembers when she was like a child. It's like, how old is Juice? Like,
yeah, and now like you also question why, like, did he know Amelia in the future at Roswell Manor that he was going to is Amelia? Because like he didn't seem to have any sort of like. I guess we need to really see the conclusion of Amelia's backstory before we can even make guesses at this.
Yeah, because it could be something to do with his memories are wiped. He could be just twisted and mad, or
we don't have enough information right now.
I mean, because they were specifically going after Amelia.
Yeah.
So this could be something where he blames her for Fortuna's death, and he's after her now, and he doesn't worship her as a god anymore. And
maybe. I'm also excited to see like Fortuna fight because we don't know anything about her really as a character. We know that she's the sister of Amelia's father.
Yeah.
Once again, though, here's the thing: the reason that, for instance, she's not the sister of Amelia's mother, to me, is still a hint that her mother is far more important. Being the father just means that her father is an elf, we assume.
Yeah.
Thus giving her the half elf. But the fact that they chose father for not mother still makes me think mother something more important.
It's possible.
But yeah, I think we're just going to wait to find out next week because we need the second half of this lore story before we get into too many other deep theories. If you have any theories about this episode or know anything, of course, leave it down below. If you're going to leave a spoiler, like always, though, we ask that you at least give a spoiler warning and leave a few spaces just so everyone can be sure. Some people really like looking at spoiler content. Some people don't. So just give them the option.
Every week I have a little bit of a hard time resisting it, just because I want to know what happens next. But
yeah, that's a lot of people out there love the fact that we don't know what happens next. So that's one of the things we have to kind of stay blind on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these shows by now I would have looked something up and just found out more details.
Well, there are some things that like I don't consider, like when someone comes out, like Mushoku Tensei. When I was like, oh, I wonder how long it takes for him. Like, does he always stay a child? And someone comes out being like, hey, he doesn't always stay a child. It'll probably take the whole first like season or arc or whatever for him to grow old, though. I'm like, okay, that's the kind of spoiler content that I don't mind. It's not like give me plot. It's just kind of something I was curious about if I'm going to be watching this anime about like this 10-year-old for the entire thing, or is he at one point going to become a 16-year-old, 18-year-old, stuff like that. So
which knowing about a time skip is always good. And even shows like I think Kumo Desu, we had one guy who gave us a lot of context.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of world building stuff, which the thing is a lot of people don't know, especially about Kumo Desu, if it is spoilers, because people aren't sure if they're ever going to talk about it, because obviously light novels have a lot more time to discuss shit like that.
Yeah.
And the anime might not. So some of these things about the world might not come up. One of the funny things is one of them did come up. This episode finally explained the area that they're in.
Yeah, I know. The moment, like, as soon as someone explained this to us, it's like, that makes a lot of sense. And the animates is like, oh, yeah, by the way. It's like, oh, okay, that would have been good like an episode and a half ago, but cool.
But yeah, pretty much if you want to leave anything spoiler, you can still feel free, of course. Just make sure you leave enough space that it's always in the read more and leave a spoiler tag. That way people have the option. Okay.
All right.
Next up on the list will be Promised Neverland episode number 4. I'm assuming no title.
Yeah, it's just episode 4.
They don't want to spoil things with their title names, you know?
I mean, they could have done the numbers again. I wouldn't have complained.
That's true. First thing we'll talk about right now is there's already a lot of controversy over this episode.
Yeah, this is where they've departed from the original series, and they're kind of going on their own path.
Yeah, so they're at original content now, is what they're calling it, basically. So we've taken a turn from where the I think it's a manga series, right?
I want to say it might have been a light novel at some point. But
Yeah, sometimes they're both.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is based on the manga though. So.
Now, one thing here, neither of us have read the manga,
Yeah.
So we can't really specify as to what they've diverted from. I have no idea. When I saw some of these videos about it, though, people would talk about how like, oh, this means I'm never going to see my favorite character, this guy, or my favorite arc. And since obviously we don't know any of those things, we're not really missing anything. We wouldn't know if they didn't change. But from what I've heard, a lot of like the author who does actually he writes for the anime.
Yeah.
He a lot of people didn't like the ending and he wanted something better. So I think he's just changing it up. So I can appreciate that. A lot of people always look back and say like, oh, whenever shows went off the manga or off the source material, they were ruined. But I loved Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I found FMA obviously had the much weirder ending. What with the going to 1930s and 1940s Germany.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of episodes that built those two characters up, and then when you go to Brotherhood, which obviously follows the manga exactly, a lot of times they obviously assume you've already seen the other one, so they even make references to episodes that never happened in this, but that you did see happen inside Fullmetal Alchemist.
It gives a lot of freedom to the creator when they're doing something like that, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And if they ever do decide to remake Promised Neverland and just stick to the manga, I mean, that is always an option too.
Yeah, a lot of times when it doesn't stick to the manga, it's because it's not finished yet.
Yeah.
This is obviously a very different story because the manga has finished, so he just wanted a different ending. And since we don't know what the original ending was, we can't know what this one is different. So
so you're not going to hear us complaining.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just going to be looking at each episode as its own thing. We're not going to be comparing it to the manga because we do not read the manga. Yep. So obviously this episode, we leave off last time. They find that hidden room with help scratched over the walls, and right last second, they're picking up a phone call from William Minerva himself. Yeah,
which William Minerva was kind of an interesting thing to hear him say, like, that's not my actual name.
Yep.
And then he did confirm a lot of details we had before, or theories we had before.
Yeah, he discussed his name's not actually William Minerva. He used to work for, the farm or the background of the farm, one of the human.
He was associated.
Yeah, exactly. And then he eventually got tired of what they were doing to these children over something that was a deal made 1,000 years ago, had nothing to do with these children. So he sent all these books to the different farms, left these clues, stuff like that. The big question to me is still the fucking pen. Because, he left all these clues. That's really cool. None of it's useful with the pen. So why did the one chick leave the pen? Why did she have the pen? Why did she leave the pen?
Well, they showed her getting the pen. Some scientist dropped it and she just picked it up.
Okay, but is that on purpose? So is this scientist like a long line of descendant from William Minerva who's like, hey, every generation you need to drop a pen and hope that someone picks up that gives it to these kids at the farm?
Yeah, because that's definitely gambling a lot, because he didn't even know this person was going to give them the pen.
Okay, honestly, her character up until that episode did not seem like anybody who would be working for the other side. She literally was just trying. She was in interest of her own job the most. So she was willing to sacrifice the children and also Isabella to get, ahead in her career.
Yeah. So,
and then last episode, she kind of realized she lost. So she's like, hey, if I'm losing, I'll help with these kids, I guess, anyway, since I'm fucked anyways.
Yeah, maybe it was just a lot of different things put into place, and they were hoping it would eventually come together. And
a lot of stars align, a lot of luck. Unless eventually they do explain the whole pen situation and how this was this fucking flawlessly thought out plan by William Minerva, this spider web to get this pen to children or something.
Yeah, maybe just the idea of trying to give them to people who are kind of disenfranchised with their jobs and hoping they would give them to the kids might be one way to do it.
It's true.
But
what if this was all a plan? Okay, what if that smart kids don't actually taste better than dumb kids? But William Minerva set up this thing where he started, tricking people, tricking the demons into thinking that smart kids taste better. So they raise the kids smarter, so the kids are smarter one day to eventually escape. Yeah. Think about that for a second.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna go with the free range argument.
No, okay.
Again.
I still think that actually would have been a funny twist if this farm, if they literally specifically let kids escape to then live for your interest and collect them at a better age or something like that. That would also be a pretty fun twist.
I mean, it would be. The only problem is, again, there was a lot of questions they didn't answer in this episode, right?
Yeah, there was lots of shit they didn't answer.
Like, they really just glossed over the help message. They glossed over how they knew where the bunker was.
Well, okay, so the help message was basically, it seemed like these were not the first kids who have escaped and got to this farm.
Yeah.
Since William Minerva has been sending these out for
Generations.
Because of the message, we assume this has been like a long ass time. Like,
he's no longer around.
This isn't like current William Minerva. He's just been leaving these messages and stuff. He's been setting this up for a long time. So these aren't the first kids, and some of the other sets of kids went there and they carved help and all that shit on there for some reason that we don't know.
Yeah, well, they show a little book. They show the book at one point. It's basically just talking about how everybody else left to try and go back to the human world, and they left them behind.
Yeah.
So they went nuts and carved help into the wall and died.
Yeah, because basically William Minerva also does give them the information they were looking for, the coordinates of how to get back to the human world. The downside is it's really fucking far.
Yeah, it's on the, what was it, the east or the west edge of the world?
It was on the east. It was on like the eastern, it looked almost like northeastern edge of the world.
Yeah.
And you had to go through like forests and shit. We've already seen that there's these like weird wild demon creatures that we got another sneak peek of in this episode.
Yeah.
This one was kind of best boy though, let's be honest.
He gave no fucks.
But yeah, there was like world building. There's still a lot of questions that we have.
Yeah.
Obviously this episode was also probably popular to a lot of people because we got the reintroduction of Isabella. Mom came back. And like this episode, once again, she takes a twist, but I gotta believe that she has a plan in mind. It starts off with her being kind of like sad and somber. She's just like, you'll never catch my kids, because they're mine. They're so smart. Like she's proud of the fact that they ended up escaping. Obviously, she has more of a connection with them too because Ray is her actual child, not just her.
Yeah, she's really banking on that, I think. So,
and then by the end, though, the demon comes and he's like, "Hey, like if they happen to not be caught here, obviously they're not getting caught there." He didn't sound that confident about that. He's like, "If they happen to not be caught here, I'll make you a deal." He's like, you can go free. He's like, we'll remove the explosive from your heart or we have.
Yeah, we'll erase the number from your neck and you'll go free.
And you'll go free if you go and retrieve all of these children, like every single one of them in like good condition. And she seems not that sold. And then he's like, and we'll also give you this special thing. And then he whispers into her ear. You got a guesses on that? I got a guess on that.
I've got two options. One is she gets to go back to the human world. Mm-hmm. Option two is she gets to keep Ray.
Okay. So I also have two options, but none of them are the human world. Because I feel like that's implied. Because what would be the point in his deal of removing the number, removing the tracker or the explosive, and then letting her go free? Just like, hey, go in a forest now. I assume that meant letting her go free in the human world. My two options were she lets her keep Ray, or something to do with Norman. Because the thing about the Ray one, it still makes a lot of sense. But to me, since we already know the fact that Ray is her child, there's no reason for the show to keep that secret from us. They could try to do it a little bit for a dramatic reveal later when she almost catches them and be like...
They did reveal it. in season 1, there was a scene where she specifically talked to Ray and realized he was her child.
Yeah, I just mean like as the viewers, it's already been revealed to us. So there's not really a point in the show keeping it secret from the viewers.
I get what you mean.
So to me, if that was the deal, he could have just said, and I'll let you keep Ray. Now they still could keep that secret just so it's more dramatic later when she's about to catch them and Ray's there and she tells them like, oh no, listen, like if I catch these, like me and you can go free, we can go live in the human world. Yeah. And then Ray has some sort of like little bit of doubt in his mind. Or to me, it's something to do with Norman. The big question, I still think that there's not a chance Norman's dead.
Definitely. Especially considering in this episode, it was established that there are humans working as a military for the demons.
Yeah. We just have fucking, SWAT teams just out there ready to go.
Yeah, I guess like they just pick like the ones that seem the strongest and just like, yeah, no, we won't eat you. You get to go catch kids.
Yeah, I guess maybe this is like I don't want to be sexist here, but they keep women specifically to be mothers. Do they keep some of the best men to be like soldiers? Like are the soldiers only men?
Yeah, or is that like a separate breeding program or
I don't know, maybe do like the humans also every now and then have to donate like 60 kids to be raised as like warriors from the human side too? Like
I feel like they might have mentioned that. It's like, yeah, and every so many years we have to send them more kids. It's like
but like just non-eating kids though. But yeah,
lots of wild demons.
A lot of world building stuff. Obviously, the characters then they decide that what they're going to do is with this new information, they're going to wait here for a little while. They're going to use this place as their home base because they still need to go to back to their farm and rescue Phil and the rest of the kids, and then all the other farms and rescue the kids. So right there, I thought that's what we're getting for the season, right? I'm like, okay, so we're gonna be doing this base operations going outward, planning to go to the other farms.
Yeah, for a moment I was worried we were gonna get Walking Dead farming season.
I kind of did think that's where it was going.
And then the soldiers showed up.
Yeah, and then the Fire Nation attacked. Exactly. Yeah. How do they know they're there?
That's my question. There's zero reason that they should have known they were there unless A, this is a known shelter. And that's why there was a help message scratched in.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, who repaired the door?
Yeah, if they did it, like, I don't know. And then you think also that they would have known about the third entrance.
Yeah, true.
Though, like, that third entrance really didn't buy them very much time since the soldiers immediately caught them after they left from there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. The other option, too, is something to do with, like, the radio. In the one episode, the very first one where they discovered the radio and they listened to a radio broadcast, the mother's just saying, checking in, everything's fine. And then Ray specifically mentions that, like, that was really short. And they're like, oh, just a lot must not be happening right now. And then they show him checking it again in this episode, and then it's the exact same thing. I'm wondering if they're, like, using the radio to also track them, like they know they're listening in.
I mean, possibly. I mean,
I don't know exactly how it worked, but then one of the things that Dawn did take with them when they leave in this episode is the radio still.
Yeah.
So if we keep finding that they're finding them somehow, possibility there. Unless like a secret second chip on the children,
Yeah. Something in the clothing, maybe something in their gear.
Yeah. It's hard to say because really like they all would have lost their chip, and you think that they would have already found them by now, right? Like they were looking for them in the forest, but not actually actively finding them. But then all of a sudden, in this one, they know exactly where they are.
Yeah,
which leads you to believe it has to be something that was either in the shelter, or the shelter itself. But yeah, either way, the thoughts of the shelter season is pretty much gone. They immediately escape the shelter, have a little bit of trouble, even using their cool secret passageway. The guards just immediately show up there, and they know that there's there's two entrances.
Yeah.
So the fact that they also know about the hidden entrance immediately, once again, makes the shelter seem pretty sus.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been they just had people at Overwatch nearby just in case, but
yeah. But yeah, I like those doors are already hard to see. They're like secret entrances. So even from above or with a large group, just knowing that they have two entrances, kind of strange unless they already have been to the shelter before, or know about it in general. So, but they do escape, using the secret third passage that the one kid, since they've been playing so much hide and go seek in there, they have learned. While getting out, though, they go to the forest
and immediately get caught.
And immediately get caught by the soldiers. So it's not looking great.
Yeah, but then an old friend shows up and...
Well, it's technically a new friend.
I know, but...
Yeah, so right as it looks like they're all completely fucked, another one of that species, I think this one was even bigger. I don't know for sure.
I think it's about the same size because we didn't get much in the way of like size context the first time. It just looked huge.
Yeah. So and once again, the same weird demon thing from the first episode of the season pops up and just immediately guffs all of those soldiers.
Yeah.
Just eats them all. The children use this time to run, and it's actually kind of funny because you get pretty much the exact same scene that you see in the first episode. They're kind of showing they cut out all the background for the kids running and just show their heavy breathing running, which they did in the first episode too. So it was really close to it. And they run.
Yeah, it was a callback, and we got to see Ray fire an arrow and actually blind the creature.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good arrow. He did a sliding shot and shot it up and just went in.
It was like a sliding jump shot, just oh shit.
Yeah, these kids are already in this episode. I think it's been 1 month basically since they arrived there, based off the tracking we see in the one girl's diary and talking about the plants and stuff like that. And these kids have been practicing archery. But the kids, for instance, when the soldier was there, they shot the gun out of his hand 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
They shot the first one so his hand flew up, and then the next arrow hit the gun out of it. I'm like, why don't you just shoot him in the fucking neck?
I think it's because they still don't want to kill people.
Fucking pussies.
I mean, Ray and Emma would definitely murder a motherfucker, but
I don't know. I think Emma might still hesitate a little bit. She's gonna have to do it eventually, but I think she'd hesitate slightly at the human. She was barely able to kill that bird with it, and then she threw up.
Yeah.
So.
And does she have any more of those flowers kicking around is my question.
Yeah, he talks about the flower and the importance, that kind of stuff, but he didn't give her a case full of them. She just had the one.
Yeah, we don't know if they grow naturally or if you just gather them or
I don't know. The big thing at the end of the episode was definitely the demon talking to Isabella, and now we have the same antagonist as season 1 back again, which you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People loved Isabella as a antagonist.
Yeah, I mean, giving an actual face to this nebulous force that's just trying to eat children is definitely a good way to do it.
That was one weakness of season 2 so far, is that like, yes, we understand demons are bad and that kind of stuff, but we need a face to the evil right now. And since the demons all kind of look the same, especially, you know, it's the original. You had the one with the sword, and you're like, oh, is he going to be the main villain? He gets killed, and there's another one who looks exactly like him. So we needed a face to the evil organization, and obviously Isabella worked really well in season 1.
Yeah,
and like while we see her being like really sneaky and conniving in season 1, we don't see her in fucking full action. Like we're gonna like in this, it's gonna be like tracking and stuff like that. Like she's gonna be crazy because obviously to even be nominated to be a mother, let alone like the best one who was raised like the best children, she has to be hyper intelligent. So
oh god, yeah. And I think the big thing is going to be she's not even going to chase them. She knows they're going to go after the other kids.
Yeah, I mean she might just try to use them as bait.
Yeah, she's going to put Phil on a platter and wait
Well,
for them to show
so
up.
a different mother has to be watching all those kids right now, though.
Yeah.
So that leads to the question: who's that mother going to be? Are we even going to get to the other farms in this season now? I would have believed it if the plot was as we thought, where they're just chilling inside their safe house, making plans, and then they eventually do like raids and stuff. But now like it's really anyone's guess. Literally, because, you know, it doesn't follow the manga, so it's anyone's guess. You can't even know spoilers that we don't know now.
Original content, y'all.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to wait, you know, and see the manga readers' views on how original this is. Like, is it just going to be slight variations? Is this a whole new thing now? As I said in the last episode, they changed the word that was on the wall.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. At the start of this episode, I did feel that transition kind of between the original content and the new content. Just something felt very off when they started the episode and they just kind of glossed over everything. So
you know what? I'm going to tell you what the word on the wall was now because it probably will never have any relevance.
Sure.
To be fair, it has no relevance to me at all. It was poachers. Apparently, it led into some sort of arc in the future, something to do with the poacher arc or something. I don't know.
I can almost tell you what the arc was going to be. It'd be people who are trying to steal kids for their own
and
food.
Sell them like a separate like child black market to, you know, the less fortunate demons, or like.
Yeah, so like the people who aren't as high ranked, it's like, yeah, you got some cash, yeah, here you go. Here's a high quality kid.
Yeah, so that would and that would also make sense with the writings and everything like that. Maybe they're hiding from them. I don't know. We might never see it now though. But it was still a good episode. We got both first half with a lot of background information thanks to William Minerva, and then the second half we got some action. Right, we got some shooting arrows, some people getting super eaten. And now, we're gonna have to wait till next episode. We might see more Isabella in that one, like starting to plan out how she's gonna catch these kids, or we might just see them kids trying to now, you know, figure out what the fuck they're gonna do. Because now they obviously the better solution would be them just to, you know, take this dangerous trek up to the east now to try and escape. But we know they're not going to.
Yeah,
because they can't fuck
Emma's
over our boy Phil.
Like you might be able to convince everyone except for Emma to do it.
Yeah.
And Ray's not going to leave Emma at this point.
Yeah, and I think at this point you wouldn't even be able to convince Ray. I think he is now set that he is, you know, he's going to save all of them, no matter what. That was like his big conviction in this season.
It was. I mean, I do think, well, Ray is a little arrogant. I don't think he's stupid. So I think he'd definitely take the more pragmatic option. Like if he had to choose between two people and one person, he's not going to try and bullshit a way to save all three.
Now, one thing we didn't consider is that maybe the reason they found the hideout is due to the coordinates Ray left on the tree.
True.
What if Ray is still being a secret agent?
I mean, I think at this point that'd be kind of pointless.
Yeah, you know, it would be a little far-fetched. But yeah, we still haven't got that answer to us, though. Right? We thought we would have got that answer to that question a little bit earlier.
Yeah, because he did scratch some coordinates into the tree, and I think we discussed this before. We weren't sure what they were. Yeah,
we weren't sure if he's so smart it was to throw them off, because obviously I feel like Ray would have known he would have been caught there. He like kind of went into that knowing he was kind of fucked. Or
I think he also had the pen on him, didn't he?
I don't know. Either he threw it away to Emma. I don't know. That question still needs to be answered, though.
I'll have to rewatch that episode.
But yeah, either way, we're looking forward to next week. We might get more answers as to what the fuck they're going to do now, because it's going to be really hard for them to, you know, start planning at their raids on the farm when they don't even have a safe place to live.
I mean, I think we're going to get Free Range Demon back.
You think so?
I mean, it seems like it. Yeah, he seems to be going out and just actively hunting people that are pursuing them. So
that's true. Even I think he should just come and, like, you know, build him a little shelter. If he's going to wait generations anyways, you might as well completely help them this generation.
And what? Just like a few hundred years down the line, it's like, I remember your great-great-grandmother. She was really great.
Yeah.
Now you're delicious.
Yeah, I mean, they can make their own little deal, though. You know, like, you know, with these free-range people, it's like, hey, you can have 5 children and I'll eat 2 of them. That's pretty fair. You get to keep more than 50% of your kids. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, then the question is, like, is it like the first 2 they eat? Is it, do you have to have all 5 and then they get to pick?
Well, if the kids do actually taste better when they're nice and intelligent at like the age of 10 to 12, might as well let them all grow and make them fight and see whoever wins you get to keep, obviously.
Jesus.
Sounds fair to me.
It's like, sorry, you have to go live with the demons because we don't love you as much.
Exactly. That's what I'll tell my children one day. But yeah, that was Promised Neverland. Obviously, we're looking forward to the next episode. If you have any thoughts, theories, questions, any of that, leave them down below as always. Next up, Kumu Desu ga Nanika, episode 4.
Monkey wa?
The names of these episodes. Obviously, we got a big action episode. We see no humans. So it's a... We were asking this question last week because each episode so far we've gotten progressively a little bit more of the human side story.
Yeah.
And then this week they're like, nope. They're like, you got enough last episode, no more this one. I think they're trying to build up to the point where she's going to leave the dungeon, the labyrinth.
At the end of this, showed her heading up the stratum. So showed her heading up towards the middle floors.
That's what she thinks, but then it's almost like a, haha, you suck. Like, just kidding.
Yeah, I know. She might have been Lava World, but
yeah. From what I've heard, obviously a lot of people in the comments down below message about Kumodesu. That's like one of the big things that people are commenting about. That's where we got a lot of the world building. Last week they told us like, hey, this is actually like the Elro labyrinth. It's like the biggest under like sea dungeon in this world.
yeah, it's intercontinental.
Yeah, and then like we're like, okay, thanks for that. We're like,
insane.
oh, thanks for that information. We didn't know this. And then this episode, they're like, you know, her appraisal levels up. She checks and it's like, oh, this is the dungeon. I'm like, oh, well, look at that. We would have actually figured this
Like
one out.
that's kind of a ridiculous progression for a skill. I want to know. It goes from telling you this is a rock to this is the name of the dungeon where you are. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So the question is always like, you know, when is she getting out of this place? And a lot of people said like she's not getting out to like the end of the first, you know, the first like arc or whatever like that, or I don't know if it's gonna be the first season. But I feel like in the anime, in a manga, you can get away with taking a longer time in there because people read a lot faster, right?
Yeah.
It's like comparing reading an arc of like a One Piece manga compared to watching the arc of the TV show. You could read the arc so much faster. So like having that longer period of time isn't that bad. But with an anime, they're probably a little bit more worried about losing too many people's interest if she never leaves this place.
Yeah, because they're getting to the danger area. Episodes 5 to 6 is where a lot of people tend to drop anime.
And yeah, and if people are in here and they're like, oh, they click and they're like, oh, she's still in this place. Like this episode's the same as like episode number 2. Like, you know, like
yeah, I mean.
It could lose some people, so I feel like they're thinking about that probably.
That is true, but I think they do a good enough job keeping everything interesting enough that they're not going to lose people due to lack of content.
Yeah, I would hope so. Like each episode, I would say I wouldn't say the episodes are getting less entertaining. For the most part, they're getting more entertaining.
Yeah.
I still think that there's a lot of world building they need to do.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know if it sounds like this from a lot of people. If they're expecting a lot of people to have read the light novels before coming in. Obviously, we know there are a lot of people who've read them. Those are the
it has a huge following from what we've learned.
Yeah, so a lot of people are supplying us that information, but a lot of it, it's like, oh, you know, the anime should cover this, and a lot of people seem to be unsure if that's something that they're just haven't done yet, or if they're not going to cover that because there won't be enough time.
Yeah, I think they might try and just weave it in as they go, like they did this time. But it means we're going to get a much slower burn for that world build. So
yeah, so this episode largely focuses around Kumiko having one very large fight with a bunch of monkeys.
Yeah, it was somewhere between a death match and a battle royale, or a battle of attrition round.
Yeah, it was a pretty big. It was a one side lives, the other side does not kind of situation, as she discovers. But before we get into that information, last week we had a comment about how the fact we didn't cover the post-credit scene.
Yeah, which I tried to bring it up, but you seemed like you hadn't seen it, so I just decided to leave it off.
No, that's what, when the person commented, I was like, dude, I did not know there was a post-credit scene. So
yeah, it's one of those things. It's really hard to bring it up when you know the other person has to see. It's like, yeah, this really cool thing happened.
Well, okay, so the main reason is in the comments we were discussing about the name of the episode, okay, because it was a little strange, because it was like earthworm and then in brackets dragon. Which doesn't make any sense because earthworms and earth dragons in this universe are two separate things.
Yeah.
So obviously that was the episode with the weird T-Rex earthworm.
Yeah, and then we get the dragon and
exactly.
Post-credit
So
scene.
if you didn't watch the post-credit scene like I didn't, the title made no sense. I'm like, you're confusing me because they're two separate things. So why are you putting it in brackets beside it? And you literally have to watch the post-credit scene where an actual earth dragon shows up, which does look a lot more like what I think Faye is her name would evolve into one day.
Yeah, it
much
definitely
more
looks like a
similar
more logical
facial structure and
yeah, it's a much more logical progression than turning into a T-Rex. So
yeah, so that makes sense. It was, I mean, even in this episode, it was glossed over real fast. There is obviously earth dragon down there, though. Kumiko runs into it, and she immediately flees because it is far too powerful, obviously.
I mean, it doesn't seem interested in her. It just immediately walks off, doesn't notice her.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's fighting 3 of the Snicka snakes and a bunch of mosquito thingies and just kind of self-destructs and kills them all. And then, but she flees pretty fast. And then once again, a lot of the first part of the episode is her running into different creatures and kind of hiding. She has her like stealth skill that she uses a lot to kind of flee away. And it kind of sucks because at this point she knows there's nowhere safe she can sleep. She's not getting a lot of rest. She's not getting a lot of food. As the episode progresses a little bit more, she starts to find some more things she can eat. She finds the bugs.
Yeah, I think they were literal rot grubs from what we could see.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, why are there so many bugs here? Why have nothing to eat them? And then she's like, well, allow me. And then she eats one and she immediately dies. And I was like, wait, is the anime actually going to cover what happens when she dies? Is it not permanent death?
Yeah, but no, it was just like a 1 HP situation.
It was like a fantasy kind of thing about her dying. It was so disgusting. And then she continued to eat them anyways because she didn't have much of an option because her SP was too low.
Yeah, well, she did gain some rot resistance from it, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, so I was wondering, I was like, hey, maybe if she keeps eating them, she gains rot resistance. Maybe they won't taste that bad. But that didn't seem to be the case. They seem to taste pretty bad to her no matter what.
Yeah, because even with the frogs, as she gained poison resistance, it didn't seem to affect the flavor.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of it just starts that way. And, at one point she runs into these, like baboon-looking creatures that are too high of a level, so she ignores them. And then she finds like a little trailing monkey. And, she just decides, she's like, hey, I'm going to eat the shit out of that thing.
Yep.
So she eats it, and as she kills it, lets out a big scream right in her face. And then basically that left some sort of like scent on her or something. So now all the monkeys want to kill her.
Yeah.
And you get like a full episode long, battle of attrition basically. Like she almost dies like 4 or 5 times, but every time right before she dies, she levels up, which replenishes her HP and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's just basically a free reset. So
yeah, it's her. She did get a couple new skills. She got like her poison synthesis and poison magic, which she just kind of
she got that earlier. I think she got that earlier in the episode.
The part that bugged me the most in the entire episode is just that she didn't evolve. I understand the logic.
Yeah.
You literally like pass out for who knows how long, and she can't just do that in an unsafe spot. But like, that's like in Pokemon, me having like Pokemon about to evolve, and I just click B. I'm like, nope, maybe later.
Yeah, I mean, there are like Pokemon. There are some circumstances where that makes sense, but
yeah, and it just, I was like, no, like because she had the option to have either one was like a poison or like a venom spider.
Yeah, I can't remember what the options were, but I think one was continuing down her existing path. The other one was turning into a poison specialist.
Yeah, one was, what the hell is it called? It's not called a Tesseract. We learned that the one. Right?
Terratect.
Yeah, so it was either she went from being a small Terratect, and the next one was just Terratect, like nothing else, no small, no big, just a Terratect, so a little bit bigger. And then I think the other one was a small Venom Terratect or something along that line.
Yeah, which I mean, based on what she's doing, she's going to go Venom.
I would assume so, yeah. Especially because I don't think that we're going to want her to get much bigger.
No, you can't make merch about something big and ugly.
Especially because we saw, like, for instance, in this episode, I believe we did also see I don't know if it's one of her siblings who has evolved a lot for it's like an older one, but we saw one of her race, another big spider that was quite large. I assume that would be what happened if you just go down the Terratech line. You just keep getting larger because we've seen her like Mama Spider, which is just ginormous. It was like the fucking size of the Earth Dragon, if not bigger.
Yeah, which it kind of bothered me that was on the higher levels.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm assuming she's gonna go down the poison one. A lot of people in the comments made some good points. Like one person said how the cute like spider image we're seeing might not be what she looks like at all. That's just how she views herself, and we're seeing how she views herself, just like how she doesn't actually speak, but we see her speak.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they also animate her mouth moving, which to me makes no sense, but I get it kind of.
It would make sense in a stylistic choice that is how she views herself, so she thinks she's talking.
Yeah, that's one thing we're going to find out, I guess, when we see that if Shiver actually meets the human characters, Yeah. Because then the human characters know what she looks like, and if she doesn't look like a cute little spider thing, might be a little more frightening.
Yeah, because if she can't talk, there's a good chance they're just going to try and stab her like they do with everything else.
Yeah. One of the other things that a lot of people keep mentioning in the comments is that like Kumiko, her name in the actual light novel, she didn't actually have a name.
Yeah, that was actually really interesting to find out.
Even when she does the first appraisal, it always says like no name on herself. But that's just what the fans named her. And then in this, I guess they kind of officially gave it to her because they called her Kumiko when the girl asked if the sensei had found her yet. I'm pretty sure they said her by name, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did refer to it. That might have been one of those things where they just put in her name, her quote unquote name when she used a specific.
I feel like it's title. Just like the writer being like, the fans liked this, like, so I'm gonna add it to the anime. Like, what makes a fan feel better than like something like fan made being put into like canon content, right? Like,
true.
But yeah, it was a very entertaining episode. Once again, I don't really get bugged by the CGI. Obviously, we had tons of CGI in this with all the monkeys and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks a little weird, but I think it works with monsters.
Yeah, it looks janky as hell sometimes, but it like works because I mean, we don't know how monkey monsters in a cave would really move, so it doesn't necessarily seem that unnatural.
It gives it that otherworldly feel that kind of sells it for me.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing when I was watching, I think it was Gridman a few seasons ago. Having the giant monsters be CGI was a really good idea, and I think it works here too.
Yeah, humans being CGI is always a little stranger because, we know how humans are supposed to move.
Yeah, like that one scene with Jean in the one episode where it was like, okay, that doesn't look like someone climbing over a wall.
It always reminds me of Game of Thrones, how they said it cost them like 4 times less money to CGI, like to animate the dragon than it did to do the wolves, the dire wolves, because no one can say what a dragon moves like and acts like, so they can do whatever they want. But they literally have to completely recreate how a normal wolf would act in full CG, so it takes a lot more time and more money. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So like doing all these weird creatures in CGI, you can kind of make them have stupid fucking movements if you want, because we don't know. Maybe that's what those monsters move like.
Yeah, you could just argue. It's like, I made this creature. This is how it moves. If you don't like it, screw off.
Yeah, but when you do humans, unfortunately, we all should know how a human, human body works, how the muscles move and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the CG's never really bugged me. I don't know if a lot of people have complained about that or if people are off put by that, because we've obviously heard big arguments of CG and, Attack on Titan, which is one show where some people still unnecessarily hate Mappa. Because they had to do CGI for the season, even though it looks fantastic. So
yeah, I mean, I think some people don't like it just because it's a new introduction to the medium, and like some
people are mad no matter what you do, right? It's just
there's always something you have to pick on something.
Yeah,
but I mean, previous installations had things like the Berserk anime from 2016. People kind of go to that when they think of CGI, I think, and that's kind of part of the pushback.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if that would have been good even if they didn't do CGI. Like,
there was no effort put into it.
Yeah, it's just easier to blame one thing. But yeah, so Spider's been doing pretty well for the CGI. I haven't been hating it. Now, once again, that could change when they have more fights with the humans and stuff along those lines. If it starts to look a little too wonky, but we don't really know for now.
So far in the action scenes, the humans have stayed animated while the monsters have stayed CGI, which I think is a good way to do it. But
yeah, probably, especially if it's like pretty low movement scenes. Like we're not seeing Jujutsu Kaisen got high school levels of fighting with these humans.
Which that's not what this series is, so we're not going to get that, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, and that's okay. Not every single anime has to have these insane looking fights. They just have to have something else. And so far, we've been definitely entertained by Quintessential. So
yeah,
if you have any thoughts, theories, any of that, of course, like always, if you have any information on the show, the world building, leave it down below. If it's something that you consider spoily, because we don't really know what is a spoiler and what isn't, then same as always, just put it in the read more with spoil stuff. We like looking over those kind of stuff. It's nice getting all this background information on the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I don't even think we know the name of the world yet.
I feel like they mentioned it at some point. And we just totally missed it.
Okay. I mean, it's possible, but I feel like they specifically keep us blind. They want us to know the same amount of information as the main character for the most part, other than like the human side, because obviously she can't see that. But when we're with that character in the cave, we know as much as she does about it, which is basically nothing.
She doesn't know shit.
Yeah, so. Realistically, if it wasn't for you guys who leave in the comments, we also wouldn't have known the name of that labyrinth until the exact second she learned it. We would have been like, oh.
That is true. Yeah.
So yeah, if you have any more world building comments on that, leave them down below as always. And of course, we'll be back next week to talk about Kumadesuga with episode number 5. Next up, Jujutsu Kaisen episode 16. So we talked about this last week. You got what you wanted. Most of the episode focused around a fight between a panda and a robot. Does the episode name have anything to do with a panda and a robot?
It's just a continuation of the previous one, group battle 2 instead of 1.
Makes sense, yeah. We've had 0, we've had 1, we've had 2. Are we getting a 3 next week?
Probably, because I think we're going to get, Glasses Girl versus Sword Girl.
You think we're getting Glasses Girl versus Sword? Do you think it's going to be a Glasses Girl versus Sword Girl fight mixed with Hammer Girl versus Witch Girl?
Yeah, Nobara versus Witch, I think. I know her name.
Okay. Why do you know her name?
You know in our Nuzlocke?
Yeah.
I named one of my Pokemon after her.
Okay, yeah. I tried to name all my Pokemon after the Office characters, but because too many of them I couldn't name, it just went to hell. So it's a sad life. But yeah, so once again, we're getting the continuation of the tournament arc. Before we even get started, do you have a guess for how long this is going to go? Like this specific section, like this group battle to, beat the special, or not the special grade, the grade 1 curse?
I'd say probably 2 to 3 more episodes.
So you think it's going to be like a 5-part, maybe a 6-part with the episode 0?
Yeah, my big thing is I don't know if this is going to be just one solid arc or if it's going to bleed into something else.
I mean, once again, they could very much like tune-in exams this for most tournament arcs where this is like the first round. I would have guessed that they would have had a one-on-one situation, but by making Itadori fight Todo right now, like this early, now I don't believe they're going to do it.
Yeah, they're not going to give Itadori a chance to shine in a 1v1 now that he's fought with Todo.
Yeah, because obviously when we went into this, we would have guessed that they would have had this kind of group thing where there's, some character interactions, but mostly trying to beat the competition. And then we would have got these one-on-one fights. But right now, we're just seeing all these one-on-one fights anyways. They're not going to go into a next part where all of a sudden Panda has to fight Mechamaru again.
Yeah.
And I like how I can remember his name because it's fucking Mechamaru.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, I think it's one of those things. Like, you could argue they could do a 1v1 where they just do different bracket and different matchups.
Yeah, I just don't think it would work.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Because it would lead to the exact same thing we're currently seeing. It would lead to an Itadori versus Todo.
Yeah, there's no denying that those two would stand at the top. So,
that actually was a twist. I would have thought we were going to get a one-on-one combat arc, but I think they're just kind of fitting it all into this. So now I wonder if this is just going to be the whole tournament. Like, is this one thing?
What I think is going to happen, because we saw the one sorcerer mention that they were planning to attack the school and get back their fingers.
Yeah.
I think before this is over, they're going to attack, and it's going to turn into everyone fighting them.
That's definitely a possibility. That is technically the end of the tuning exams, as Gaara and them attack. So that would make sense, especially because they could be looking at like, hey, these people are out on this test, they're distracted. This is a perfect time to attack the school.
Yeah.
The only thing is like, what would they do about fucking Satoru Gojo? Because you cannot attack the school while he's there.
I mean, it could be they try and take someone hostage and neutralize him, or it could be that...
Would he even give a fuck?
Plus they did mention they had an item that could seal him.
Okay, so if they're planning... I feel like they don't want to use that too early, though. We definitely know they're going to attack if in the next couple of episodes we see him somehow get distracted by something.
Yeah, if he gets called away or...
Yeah, like if something happens and he gets called away to go deal with like a threat somewhere else, like one of them has a distraction while they attack the school, then we know what's coming.
Yeah, because one thing I did notice, this is from the opening, so I don't know if this is a spoiler, because Jujutsu's been pretty good about not giving everything away in the opening. They do show Itadori and Todo fighting the plant demon.
Okay.
Or the plant curse, I guess. Not demon, but...
Yeah, the nature one, or the earth, or whatever the hell he is.
Yeah. Like the embodiment of natural disasters, I think
with
it
like
is.
the horns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see that. I definitely... One thing that we got in this episode, which we were questioning, is like, obviously, from the last episode, Todo is trying to convince Itadori that his divergent fist kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And then in this one already, we don't actually see the fruition of it, but we see Itadori. It almost looks like after he's been given this explanation from Todo about how it works, he is now, from what it looks like, he gets it. And I think
he looked like he was going Super Saiyan Blue.
Yeah, and I think that from what we see there, I think we're not going to get it for another episode or two episodes because we have to see the finishing of these separate other fights first. But I feel like at this point, during the fight, he's already going to get this. But then that still brings the question of he does need something cooler, something marketable, like a skill that looks cool, like a Rasengan, a Chidori, a Bankai, like all these characters from all these really popular shonens have something that is like, that's marketable, like,
They do, and I think one thing is like the big selling point for characters in this, their individual feature would be something like their domain expansion.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that with Itadori and have it be a marketable...
No, especially because I don't think we're getting that for a while.
Yeah, that would be like his final trump card against like a major opponent.
That'll be like the season 1 finale kind of fight, or even later than that. It's like the Shinra going light speed kind of thing in season 1 of Fire Force.
Yeah, so we're either going to get something where it's basically just a big bang attack where he just detonates a huge amount of power in one strike.
Well, yeah, because the one thing about Itadori, right, is that he's so his positives is how physical he is, right? He's like the strongest, he's fastest, he's got a crazy good reflexes.
Yeah, Todo.
So that kind of stuff, while fantastic, does not look necessarily that cool.
Yeah, I mean, Todo specifically says the reason for the Divergent Fist is that his curse energy is lagging behind his physical potential.
Yeah, he's too fast and strong that he cannot keep up with channeling. The whole issue here is that he channels his curse energy. Yeah. Todo saying that's not something you channel. It's just something you are. Like you have, it's,
Yeah, you can channel it if you want, or you could just constantly be it.
Yeah, he's like the best sorcerers. They just have it all the time,
Yeah. Which, I mean, this is kind of like, I think Demon Slayer did something similar with total concentration breathing. It's like, yeah, you can turn it on for the fight, or you could just always be superpowered.
That's like the after they get badly injured arc and he's training in like the hospital and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. But I think he's going to pick that up really fast, but I am excited to see when he gets some sort of more marketable skill. Something that looks a little flashier.
Yeah, my big question is, do you think it's going to be some sort of blunt force situation, or do you think they're going to give him like an energy blade or something like that?
I think blunt force still. I think they're going to play with his strengths for now. I would love if they gave him something like fucking form changing or something cool, you know, like though still a huge Bleach fan,
Right.
And the Bankais were just fucking dope, not because like the power, but because like the change in their look.
Yeah.
Like whenever Ichigo would go Bankai, and his like outfit would change to like the black with like the white and stuff, like that was always the dopest part of it. It wasn't like how much stronger he got, and it's the same with when he eventually got like the hollow mask and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't care about how cool his moves were. I cared about how cool he looked.
Yeah, it was about the aesthetic. It wasn't about the raw numbers.
Yeah, so don't get me. I would love if Itadori just fucking looks more badass. If,
something like cursed armor or
yeah, like something dope like that, where it's
God.
just like, you know, his like fist gets covered in some like sweet shit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we already have the cursed fire on his fists that they use for show, but
Yeah,
that actually hasn't done anything yet. But
no, but yeah, something along those lines would obviously be my favorite thing, because I just think that would be dope, especially because like the Jujutsu costumes are like cool, but they're very subtle.
yeah, they're very straight to the point. They're
Like
kind of
each character has a thing about them that makes it like their own. You know, that makes it
Yeah.
a little bit special. Like he's got the scarf thing.
Yeah.
The Megumi has like the big ass. It's more of a basic costume, but it's like the very big collar.
yeah.
Like they each got a thing about it that makes it a little bit more special, but,
But at the
they
end of the
could
day,
be cooler.
Yeah, it's, at the end of the day, it's still the same satin black with gold buttons across the board.
Yeah, like something cooler would be nice, but obviously we might save that for future arcs or something along those lines.
Yeah, because the big question is like Itadori isn't married to a fighting style right now, too, right? He just
No,
punches
he
things
just
because
fights
that's
to
what he
win.
does.
That's all
Like
he does.
he had no problem using a blade when he was handed one.
Yeah,
So I was almost wondering if they give him something like a knife hand strike so he can almost slice things instead of just blunt forcing it.
that's possible.
But
But I feel like he's just such a blunt force kind of boy.
I know, but I love it when they change up a character's fighting style with something like that. So
Yeah, like when they changed Deku into like, Kiki.
yeah, when they finally
Kicky
said like, "Hey,
fight.
dude, you know you have legs, right?"
I mean, to me, if he breaks his arm whenever he punches, he should also break his leg whenever he kicks. But
Well, I mean, that was more because he figured out like, hey, maybe I don't have to break my limbs every time I strike something. But
I mean, human legs are typically 3 times stronger than human arms. So
Yeah.
just throwing that out there, we should all be walking on our arms if we want to get them stronger. Obviously good episode, lots of fighting. Obviously, there's the big Panda versus Mechamaru fight.
yeah,
where
I can't believe we didn't talk about that at all.
we've already been talking about this for like fucking 20 minutes, so we haven't got into what was most of the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some of the answers as to what Panda is and what Mechamaru are, because we asked both of those.
Yeah.
Mechamaru is very different. He is a human elsewhere located who's using curse energy to control a puppet, to control
Yeah.
a robot.
He very specifically says he was cursed from the moment he was born, but that gave him the ability to use the energy over a vast distance.
Yeah, he was born with like no legs from like the knee down. He has like skin where, the sun sees him, it like fucking burns and shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
Pretty shitty life.
Paper skin, glass bones.
But while like a normal curse jujutsu sorcerer might only be able to control something like 10 feet away, he has hundreds of feet of radiant, because he has more energy, because that was just part of, I guess, the trade-off for getting a pretty shitty card.
Yeah.
He just fully admitted this. He's like, I would give all of this up to be a normal person.
Yeah, which I think is actually kind of a nice thing to see from a character. Like very much I don't want to be the guy who's sitting in a chair hating his life. I'd very much like to be the normal person.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these jujutsu sorcerers would prefer just to be normal people who don't have to worry or think about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they're also curses, It just kind
True.
of plays in the whole part. And then we get the answer to what Panda is, because that was obviously a large question, because, he's a panda.
Yeah, which they didn't really they didn't really explain what he is.
He was created somehow by the principal, but instead of being like a weird puppet, he was like a puppet that was like raised from birth with his own mind, 3 hearts, 2 belonging to his siblings that are all within the same body.
Yeah. We didn't get to know what his sisters, but
Yeah,
we
they're
found
saving that for later, because
It's good.
he has
It's gonna
3
be some-
cores. The sister was immediately sniped. That's why she never shows up.
Yeah.
He's the balanced one. His brother is the full attack, the gorilla one. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming the sister's going to be defense if he's balanced.
Yeah, she's gonna be a freaking turtle or an
No, it's
armadillo.
got to be some sort of more panda or bear type thing, right?
I mean, I think a bear is already a pretty defensive creature. Have you ever seen how hard it is to get through their hide?
Yeah, maybe it'll be like a polar bear form.
I mean, if we're going with just raw defense, it'd be like a Kodiak or a brown bear. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you're right. Like gorilla and panda are two separate things.
yeah,
So it's kind of weird seeing him in like weird gorilla panda half breed mix when he comes out.
yeah, like
A little creepy looking.
if they're gonna go with like a defense form, I'd say probably a kappa form or a turtle form.
Yeah, I could see a turtle, but that'd also be
So-
kind of strange just to like look at. Like
I mean,
visually.
everything to do with him is strange.
That's true. But yeah, so he was kind of like raised. So he's not a puppet. He's not being controlled by someone else. He's just like his own person.
Yeah.
That was raised as a panda, but he has a very positive outlook on it. he doesn't want to be like other humans. He's okay with what he is.
Yeah.
He's okay with what he's got. So nice positive outlook.
Yeah,
and he uses that positive outlook to absolutely kick robots' ass.
Yeah, there was a few moments where it's like, is this going to go the way we thought it was? And then Bandus is like, yeah, no, fuck you.
And then there's some nice parts at the end, the guy, Mechamaru, I don't know what the actual guy's name is. I think they do mention it in here, but it wasn't as cool as Mechamaru, so we don't need to remember
I think it's something Maru.
But he has like visions, imagining if he was a normal person, being able to hang out with like his friends, all the people in his class and stuff like that. And then Panda's like, hey, I'll come visit you, and we'll figure this out. We'll talk this shit out. And he's just like, okay, yeah. So it was a really nice ending to their little fight. But yeah, a lot of it was just a robot versus a panda.
Which again, that was something I never knew I needed until today.
Yeah, and then so in the upcoming episodes, we're probably going to get Sword versus Glasses, and we're probably going to get Witch versus Hammer.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get kind of a dual perspective.
Yeah, which I mean, they specified, or Panda-kun specifically said he didn't think Nobara was up to fighting the Witch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of curious because the Witch seemed like purely recon, but...
Yeah, she's going to have something up her sleeve, though. But then once again, the Nobara is going to be like, I got more hammers now. Like, I got a drill gun now. Like,
I mean, anyone who could drive nails into my joints is someone I'm scared of. So
yeah, I'm a little that fight's going to be a lot different looking than the Mechamaru versus Panda one.
Yeah, because I think you can kind of disassociate the robot and the panda enough from yourself that it doesn't look that gory when shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you have two teenage girls going at it like this, that's definitely going to have some different context.
That whole sentence has some different context.
Yeah, phrasing.
But yeah, either way, good episode, a lot of battle. We're going to be getting a lot more battle. I want to see more with Itadori, obviously. And if we are getting to some sort of arc with, a bad guy's invasion kind of thing.
Yeah, because we haven't even seen Megumi fight...
stupid guy, Jura. That might be his name. That might not be his name.
I feel like that is his name.
It might be pretty close. I'm not going to lie.
It sounds like a bitchy clan leader name.
We always talk about how we can't remember names because there's so many of them. And then someone... it was for Kumadesu, wasn't it?
It was. They gave us a full list.
They gave us the full list of names. Probably don't remember any of those. But
the sad thing is, I looked at a few of them. I'm like, okay, I've got this. Then none of them came up this episode, so I can't even flex them.
But yeah, so we're obviously going to be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen right till it ends. We have like another 9 episodes or so left to go. Something along those lines. So we're going to get this arc going. So if you're a fan, obviously, leave a comment down below. Once again, we talked about this last week. We can't be posting on the Reddit anymore. So if you're even watching this and anyone else who likes Jujutsu Kaisen or a community or in a Discord or something that maybe would, feel free to post this there. We definitely do not mind. The more people we can get, the better, especially since we cannot post it in the subreddit.
Yeah, we appreciate any interaction, and if you spread our word even just a little bit, that we're more than grateful for it. So
exactly. Next up, this week we're talking Quintessential Quintuplets again. We talked about it last week, but we're talking about it this week again because this is kind of the finale to the little arc we've got going on since the start. It's like a little 4-episode arc. Yeah,
it's a big change to the dynamic of the show, which the episode name is 7 Goodbyes Part 3, so it is the end of the arc. So
yeah, exactly. So we obviously starting in, was it episode 1? Which is the episode where the papers were torn up, and was that episode 2?
I think it was episode 2 because episode 1 was kind of getting back into the vibe.
Yeah, episode 1 was more chill. Yeah. So we talked about this last week. There was a little fight going on. Nino ripped up some of the papers. Uesigi. Fucking his name.
It's a weird pronunciation.
It's hard to pronounce for English people. But she ripped up pages he was working hard on for the study. That started a fight with Miku originally, and then Itsuki came in and also continued the fight with a nice little bitch slap right to the face.
Yeah, she fully deserved.
Yeah, she did. And then since then, we've obviously had this separation between both Nino and Itsuki moved out. So you have that main plot of, the sisters and Usugi trying to get them back together, trying to get them back home and moved in and solve their fight. And there's also this like little side arc going on with Yotsuba and the track team where she has a hard time saying no to people.
Yeah, and they're very much taking advantage of her and forcing her to kind of keep going with it. So
yeah, so this is the conclusion to both those little mini arcs in this episode. We also got the answer I want to know from last week, which was, does Nino know what the fuck is going on? Does she actually understand that Kentaro is not a real person and that it's actually Usugi the whole time?
Yeah.
Did she not? We learned what happened exactly. Now last week I talked about how the ending was like Miku coming in with like ribbons in her hair looking like Nino. I'm still confused now because that went nowhere.
I think it was just her kind of showing up to try and... I think the ribbons were her getting into the room.
Oh, pretending to be her to get up there. That makes sense. That makes sense. Because she specifically asked in this one, like, how'd you get here? And she's like, I just pretended to be you, and I said I forgot my key.
Yeah, they've done that a couple times.
Okay, that checks out. I thought I was going crazy for a second. I'm like, did I actually misinterpret that scene? I swear to God, Miku was wearing something to make her look like Nino.
Yep.
Obviously, my big prediction, I'm not going to call myself a 400 IQ genius here because it wasn't that hard to see coming, was that Nino would cut her hair. Obviously, in this episode, she cut her hair. I did, as soon as we got to that end part with the track team, I knew exactly where it was going.
Yeah.
So a lot of it still takes place around, Usagi's trying to help them. Kind of, we did get a little bit more of a dramatic end in this one, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
But he's still trying to help them study. They have the big test coming up while he's trying to, mend their friendship, I guess you'd call it.
Their family bonds.
Yeah, their family bond, trying to get them to move back into home. And of course, he has to make them perform well in the next test. So, they mend the bond mainly by Nino kind of realizing that she needs to, move on. But a lot of what she's been thinking, her moving on in her mind has been like growing up like apart from her sisters. She's like, all of my sisters have grown and they've all kind of moved apart from me. In this one, she kind of accepts and learns the fact that she can grow up without having to abandon her family.
Yeah, Miku very specifically sits down with her. It's like, listen, we all have our own interests and our own tastes. Doesn't mean we can't live together.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we don't love each other as family. She's, it's like a couple different analogies. She's like, I like, green tea. You like black tea. They're both talking about how like one's better than the other because the leaves are so much better in this one. And then they look it up. They use the same leaves. It's all about that steep time. And they're like, what a good analogy for our
It's fermentation time, but yeah.
Same thing. Whatever. But yeah, so it was a nice little thing. Obviously, Nino then gets the scissors out. You know exactly where that's going. And while that's going on, they're trying to solve the whole Yotsuba track team thing.
Yeah.
So their plan is basically, hey, right when they go, what we're going to do, we're going to trick Yotsuba into leaving, and then we're going to have Itsuki go in and pretend to be Yotsuba. And in your mind, you're like, guys, that won't work. You're like, their hair, one has long hair, one has short hair. These girls are not fucking idiots.
Yeah, like even if we accept the idea that the girls don't look like they do to us, they don't have the separate hair colors.
If they don't have the separate hair colors, okay, we can play around that for sure. But hair length is still pretty important. Yeah. If Jimmy came here one day to record a podcast episode and he had hair down to like his shoulders, you're trying to tell me that nobody would notice.
Nope.
It seems unlikely to me. But yeah, so obviously they try this plan. It immediately goes wrong. But then don't worry, Yotsuba comes back here and she's like, sorry, don't mind my sister. It's just a fun joke. But I am serious. I'm not joining your track team. I'm leaving. So fuck you all.
Yeah.
And we're all like, okay, yeah, like this makes sense. And then we see Usagi and Yotsuba and
watching this.
And you're just like, oh.
Like for a moment, my brain went, oh God, who's it? Ichika?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, did Ichika pull this shit
Her
off?
hair's too short to do it.
I mean, she has access to wigs.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, you as the viewers, you still do see the slightly more like purplish tint in the hair.
Yeah.
So and you saw like the scissors earlier, so you know where it's going. But for like a second, you're like, oh, like she's because much more important, similar hairstyle stuff like that. And then yeah, they realize it's Nino. She comes in, puts her ribbons on. She's got the cute short hair now. I think people like that a lot.
Yeah,
it's from what I saw on the Quintessential Quintuplets Reddit page, people like short-haired Nino. So good because long-haired Nino, kind of a bitch. So if short-haired Nino's not a bitch, there we go.
That is true.
The rest of the episode goes into them studying. They do the tests. They don't perform hyper well. They do better than they've done in the past.
Yeah, they've improved, but they're not doing well.
Not doing well enough. And then, of course, as they are waiting one day for Usagi to come in and help them study, an older man who used to be their teacher and is also their driver comes in.
Yeah, I don't think he used to be their teacher. He's specifically their father's chauffeur who used to be a teacher.
Who used to. I'm pretty sure
he might have been their tutor at one point.
Yeah, I think that he tutored them when they were younger. But yeah, he comes in and they're all like, "Hey, where's Usagi?" And they're like, "Oh no, he like quit. He done.
Yeah,
he's not allowed to come here anymore at all.
Yeah, he's been forbidden.
Yeah, he's bidden for, which we can only assume was his idea. Like, if we're looking at this off screen, he walks to the dad or calls the dad. He's like, "Hey, I want to quit because I didn't get them the scores. They're not really growing.
Failed.
They're not growing anymore with me." And the father's like, "Are you sure? Like I don't mind that they didn't pass this. Like you still have time. You can do this." And he's like, "No, like I need them to like they need to do better." And like I'm like stopping them. Like I'm like limiting their growth because I'm not good enough. And the father's like, "Okay." And then Usugi's like, "And you know what? Just so that I can't go back on this in case I need money next week, permanently banish me from this place. Tell the people at the front desk it is impossible to undo. I am forever banished." Like, because like obviously the resolution in the end is that the girls get their own place.
Yeah.
That's how serious this banishment is.
Yeah, which if it was Usugi who said banish me, I don't think they would go that far.
But I can't imagine the father's so fucking pissed at him then, because the butler guy.
The father is a fucking drama king.
But even the butler says that like that wasn't your dad. Like your dad like offered him another chance or said that it was okay. Like he said that.
But he didn't say that the father didn't banish him. The father. He said no, you can keep going. They're improving. He's like, no, I didn't do well enough.
I know. I feel
and
like
then the father's like, well, okay, just never come back then.
I feel like Usugi specifically wanted the father to banish him, though. If you've seen The Office, have you ever seen The Office?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a part where Andy wants to be fired, and he knows that if he's not fired, that he can come back anytime, so he can't follow his dream. So he takes a dump on the boss's car. It's like that. You know that, like, if you have an opportunity to come back here, you will when you need it at some point. In a week from now, he could really need money for his family. He's going to go back to the job he knows he has. So instead, he's like burns his bridges. He like walks in, slaps their father in the face, and keeps doing it until the father's like, "Okay, you're fucking banished, dude. You're out." You know, like there's a backstory here.
I'm trying to say what I can without giving away that I know what happens.
Okay, but either way, what ends up happening? They go to him. You know, it's been like a month or something like that. You know, he's working at the cake shop.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long. It's been a few weeks, I think.
Okay, he's working at the cake shop for Christmas. They go to him like, "Hey, can we get this cake delivered by you?" And he's like, "Fuck no." And the boss is like, "Yeah, you're doing it." So
the boss very much has this attitude. It's like, dude, 5 identical twins or quintuplets just invited to your house.
You're going. You're delivering.
I'm not giving you a goddamn choice. Go live the dream.
So you know he goes. He's like, "This isn't the way to your house," and they're like, "No, it's not." And then you get a cute scene where they all fucking fall in the water.
Yeah, like there was a whole thing with that too, and it's just like they throw their key cards up. He's like, "What the fuck?" And he falls in the water trying to catch them. It's like,
yeah, they throw their key cards up, being like, you know, "We're not going home. This is our home now," or like that. And he like panics trying to get them, falls in the water, and as he's sinking, he's like, "Oh, like you know, I suck," or whatever. Yeah. And then all the women jump in, of course, for not really a good reason, especially because he loses his thing.
Yeah, he has the little
the charm or whatever it is.
The charm scroll that he was given by Renan,
who he's supposed to open when he learns to, you know, accept himself or whatever like that.
Yeah. I mean, he almost gets it, but then Nino starts to drown.
Yeah, but I think that the part of it is that, you know, because of this, maybe he now accepts himself, so he doesn't even need that anymore. You know, doesn't need it. But yeah, I don't know. It was you know, still pretty good moments at the end, and then obviously now they're in a new apartment. So going forward in the season, we're gonna see a nice different point of view. They don't have a stylish penthouse, you know, anymore. Yeah. So and then yeah, I don't really know what the next plot's gonna be. Obviously you do, because you've read ahead. I don't know if we're just gonna be back to more studying, if we're gonna get a little bit more romantic plots. Once again, now that we've had a lot of Nino, I think we need more Ichika, which is my favorite. I mean,
the thing is that at the end of this episode, they also established Nino's kind of blushing over.
Oh yeah, she completely, once again, she's like, no, it can't be, you know.
Yeah, so you know that's going to be the focus for the next little while. So
do you think we're getting the only two that haven't like basically fully like admitted to themselves that they're in love with him would be Yotsuba and Itsuki.
Yeah.
Because we've seen the other three, obviously Miku. Fucking obvious, the most obvious one. Yeah. We've seen Ichika in this season admit to herself, like, oh, why did it have to be him, kind of thing. And then we just saw Nina in this episode. So are we getting a Yotsuba arc next? You know, for her to then admit that she loves him.
I ain't saying shit.
Okay, either way, if you want to find out, you're gonna have to keep watching, just like me. You know, because us plebs out here, we don't read the manga.
Hey, in my defense, I never expected him to get a second season.
That's true. I did, because it was a good show.
It was, but there's a lot of good shows that didn't get a second season.
It came out at the exact same time as We Never Learn. Another study.
Yeah,
anime.
That one's already finished.
What? I watched all of that. Was that the end?
That was the end of the series of the anime.
Well, fuck. I didn't even know.
It had a pretty freaking resolute ending.
Oh, maybe I don't remember this as much as I thought. I might have to go back and watch it.
He picked a girl.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay. I forgot all this, so I'll have to go back and watch that at some point. But yeah, that was Quintessential Quintuplets. So if you want to stick around, once again, we might not be talking about it next week because it's going to be the start of a next arc, so might not be as important. But we take this on a week-by-week basis. So just stick around and you will see Quintessential Quintuplet episodes at some point.
Yeah, if you want to see more horror media, I will get that back in the rotation at some point.
Exactly. Next up, Mushoku Tensei episode number 4.
Emergency Family Meeting.
Which was, okay, I'm not going to lie. Loved the start of this episode. It is a classic Western show trope about pregnancy scares. That's just a fact. Yeah. And, you know, cheating, pregnancy, all that kind of stuff. How often is that touched on in anime?
I mean, unless it's pretty damn trashy, not that often.
Yeah, like when was the last time? What's the last anime you can think about that had like a cheating / pregnancy arc in any sort of anime? Like a plot at all?
Pregnancy arc? I can't think. Like School Days comes to mind. I hate you because you made me think of School Days.
listen, we love School Days. 10 out of 10 anime.
I will backhand you.
But yeah, like when you're thinking about it, you're like, wait a minute. It's like, can I think of any anime that really focused on like a character cheating and then getting a woman pregnant?
Yeah, like that's a very specific arc. And
Now, obviously, it's Paul, and we love Paul, so he's allowed to make his mistakes.
yeah, he's a bit of a scumbag. Which
Okay, listen. Paul is best boy, okay? To be fair,
we only have 2 boys to pick from.
the maid admitted that she seduced him. Now, when we see the seducing scene, it wasn't that good. So I
it
guess
was fucking weak sauce.
Paul's kind of at fault. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, he saw her bathing herself. And he was like, "Well,
I
guess I gotta stick my dick in
want to rat
it."
at my boy Paul, but yeah, he got kind of fucked there.
Like there was no resistance there.
So yeah, we start off the episode with learning that the mother can't remember her name right now. You know why I can't remember her name? Because she hasn't had her own episode yet.
It has something. It's like Zephyr or.
It's definitely a more fantasy name than Paul.
Yeah.
But Paul got an episode, so we know Paul's name.
Oh, I was thinking about the name when I heard it too. Oh
but
my god!
The episode starts with her talking about how she's pregnant. So Rudy's gonna have a brand new brother or sister, hopefully sister. From his point of view, in the last episode.
Yeah,
he
seems a little less bitter towards the whole brother thing at this point.
Well, he doesn't have a brother. They were both girls.
I know, but
I think that they're all gonna be sisters. I don't know if he has more sisters. I
think the problem is that I think we see the sister either in the opening or the ending. So
possibly, but yeah. So it starts off with his mom talking about how she's pregnant, and it's it's all happy, and then immediately after the maid says she's pregnant.
Yeah.
There's a few issues with the maid saying she's pregnant. One is that she probably doesn't see anyone else other than the people in that household.
Yeah,
and unless it's Rudy. Now,
a small part of me thought, is it Rudy?
Okay, no. I thought there was about to be a twist there, which was going to be like like when they first find out and the mom stands up and she looks like she's going to go like smack some or something like that. I thought she was going to be happy about it because maybe like they just introduce a third. Listen, we can't judge people. We don't know what's in this world. We've already seen a scene where they're like, obviously the maid, a little pent up. She admits that in this episode. She has to listen to them have sex all the time. In the one episode, she's in the hallway doing some stuff.
I don't think that was the maid.
That was.
Was it?
Oh no, that was
Roxy.
That was Roxy. Fuck. A lot of people like listening to these guys have sex.
I mean, to be fair, they were all living like 2 doors down from them, and they're not exactly quiet.
I guess so. Yeah,
free Cinemax, man.
So in this, we find out that the maid was a little bit pent up. Honestly, I think that later we get a little bit more background information that makes this also feel a little less scummy to me too. Kind of not in Paul's favor, but in her favor at least. So she's a little bit, frustrated. She kind of wants Paul. So what does she do? She leaves the door open, makes a sound one day a little bit, and she's just bathing herself.
She didn't make a sound. She just left the door open while she was bathing herself, and Paul was like,
"Yeah." So she completely admits she's like, "I was trying to seduce him. This is all my fault. Rudy forgave me. She's they're mad at Paul, even though this is my fault." And then we see the flashback, and she literally does almost nothing. She bathes herself. Paul sees it, and he just fucking walks right into her room.
Yeah,
like,
no hesitation, no
okay.
Doesn't even look to see if his wife has the door open.
Yeah, we don't even know where his wife is at this point. She's probably like a room away.
She's probably a room away waiting for him.
But yeah, during the confrontation, the mom's like, what are you going to do about this? She's obviously very upset, very pissed. And the maid's like, I'm going to have the child and then I'm going to leave. And then the mom's like, that's like a 1 month journey. And then Rudy's like, fuck, like, there's a good chance either neither of them will survive the journey or, the child definitely won't survive the journey. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you know what? I'll fix this. So he kind of goes in, he plays the child card, being like, oh, mom, I'm going to have 2 new siblings. And then like he kind of like just absolutely fucking 300 IQ cucks the mom completely. So the mom has to accept it. Though, to be fair, she accepts it really well. She gets over that real fast, and then it becomes like they're part of the family.
I mean, I think a big part of it was that Rudy just threw Paul under the bus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Rudy admitted, he's like, listen, I feel bad for Paul because he just helped me with the whole Sylphiette thing. But like, sorry, bro, I'll get you back. He's like, he owes a favor to Paul though in the future. The reason he was doing this is because he owed a favor to the maid because she didn't tell everybody about his holy relic.
Yeah.
But in this episode now, because of him rescuing the maid also fully admits being like, and obviously we're going to get this later, she's like, oh, you know what? I've never I've never like liked him. I've never really spoken to him because I always thought he was fucking possessed by the devil.
Yeah, which I mean, I think that's a pretty fair feeling.
She's like his fucking smiles when he was like playing with my underwear and stuff like that. A little sus.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But now she's like, she understands that Rudy completely knew what he was doing in that situation. He walked in that, getting her out of this, saving her and her child's life, and giving them a better life there. So then obviously now the family's kind of going to get to grow with each other a little bit more. And then right there, she's like, one day my child will serve him because of what he did. And that's obviously a plot line we're going to get in the future.
Yeah, we're going to end up with like a squire or a servant situation.
Yep. And of course, it's also a girl.
Yeah.
But it's a half sister, which normally, I would say that's off limits. But this is an anime. So that's far in limits for an anime. Yeah. So, I mean, that was such an interesting little thing because once again, you don't see that in anime very often.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. But then later we learned that she went to like the same sword school as like Paul.
She practiced swordsmanship with Paul.
They were friends. Okay. Listen. Okay. Before we get to Paul's backstory here, I feel like Rudy was paraphrasing some of what happened because in Rudy's words, he forced himself into her tent at night and deflowered her.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Rudy, no. That sounds bad. That sounds bad for Paul. Listen, here's the thing, okay? Paul's a fucking ladies' man. We already know that.
Yeah.
So I think that she obviously had a thing for Paul. So, nothing sus going on.
The problem is that it was established that Paul left the school after that.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was something sus about that.
No. We don't accuse Paul of anything without getting further information.
I mean, Paul's already dug his fucking grave.
But that at least that added to like the backstory, why she likes Paul already. She probably already had a crush on him. That was like her first time. This kind of stuff. It adds a little bit more to their whole like little cheating thing now. Yeah,
I mean, it also kind of justifies Paul a little bit earlier in the whole like, okay, he had a flashback to way back when, and
yeah, Paul was like the bad boy, like he left school early, but luckily he still managed to. There's 3 different types of sword skills, and he's advanced in all of them. One was literally like sword skill, one was like water god skill, and one was something else.
Water God, North Wind, and something else. I think.
I think one of them was literally just like sword. So I think that was like a real.
It's something one. Sword. It's like holy sword or true sword or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's good in all of them. And then we get like a little bit of a time skip. So we get like a year time skip where both the babies are born, both girls, and then Rudy is kind of like stuck, he's at like a midlife kind of, stuff.
Yeah, he's stopped progressing in anything meaningful.
Yeah, he's had trouble progressing in magic or swordplay, stuff like that. A lot of it's probably just no drive, right? Because one of the things that drives people, especially like children too, is like competition. Yeah. Because he doesn't really like, I guess maybe Sylphie, he admits in this that she's becoming really good. Like one day she might even surpass him. Yeah. But a lot of that's just because he's stuck. So he kind of is a little bit lost, and that's when he gets a letter from his previous master talking how she's now what
king class
water mage, and she's teaching the 7th son of this king. Then he's kind of like Rudius. Do you think that's a hint that he's reincarnated, or do you think he's just kind of a weird kid?
I think he's just a scummy kid.
Okay. If they didn't show him looking so fucking lame, if they showed him being like a cool dude, I would have guessed that that's a future plot of him being reincarnated. Yeah, but then he was so fucking lame. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, my thought was this guy might be another reincarnation who's going to be a rival to Rudy. Then it was like, nope, he's just a dweeby king's kid.
Yeah, as soon as they showed him, I was like, nope, we're not getting him. I don't want him in the show.
Yeah, he might still end up as a rival at some point, but he's not going to be.
I could definitely, since he's around the same age, and she mentions how like he's almost as good as Rudy, definitely going to school, maybe being kind of like a school bully a little bit, not from being like cool, but he's obviously a son of a king, so I feel like he's gonna have some
that's
pull.
a good card to play.
Yeah, he's gonna be that magic school's Malfoy. But yeah, that letter kind of drives Rudius. He realizes now, he's like, hey, he goes to his parents, says like, hey, I want to ask a favor. I want to go to this magic school, but I'd also like for you to pay for Sylphie too, because her family doesn't have that much money, and he doesn't want to leave her. He mentioned leaving her early in the episode, and she broke down into tears. And
yeah, she literally jumped on top of him and begged him not to go.
So yeah, he's like, I don't want to leave her. And Paul's like, no. He's like, A, you haven't learned the sword from me yet. You're not that good. He's like, B, you're not like old enough. He basically says like you're not like grown up enough yet. You still have like a lot of stuff to learn and stuff like that. And then he's like, and C, like we don't have that much money. We don't have so much disposable income that we can also send Sylphie to school. He's like, you would be one thing, but we can't send for her to, go.
Yeah, because we don't even know if they have like an actual income coming in or if this is they made a lot of money early in life and they settled down.
Yeah, it seems like obviously they're probably better off than most of the villagers, but this is a pretty small village.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly what their income is. But they imply there that they definitely have enough money for Rudy to go anyways, but can't do Sylphie. So then Rudy's like, okay, backup plan. He's like, will you find me a job? Because then he's like, I'm going to pay for her tuition myself then.
Yeah.
And then Paul, you get like, there's something going on because both the women looked a little skeptical of the whole thing. And Paul is like, you sure that's like the best thing for her? And Rudy's like, no, but it's the best thing for me, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, well, I'll find you a job. And then, then we get the fucking Beast Lady shows up. The classic, literally just 2 strips of cloth covering the nips.
Not even pretending.
Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't see something with her and Paul going on.
Maybe he just doesn't have a thing for beast chicks.
Maybe. The mom also greets her old friend. So yeah, she shows up and then Paul's like, Rudy is like, what would you think if I wanted to... If I wanted you to stop seeing Sylphie anymore? And Rudius is like, I wouldn't like that. And then they just immediately start a sword fight. And by sword fight, I mean Rudius tries to use magic constantly during it.
Yeah, he like tries to use the sword once and it parries like a single strike, and then
so he gets absolutely wrecked. Obviously,
considering he's against an advanced sword user, I think he did
he's
okay.
like fucking 7 years old, I'm pretty sure he did pretty good. But obviously, his father's much better. And right before his father hits him, he's like, I sure am glad these are wooden swords. And then he bonks him on the head, and then the next scene is Rudy in the carriage with the Beast Girl, and she basically says, you're going to come work with me starting tomorrow.
Yeah. No explanation as to what the work is. No idea what even just happened, like why his father knocked him out.
Yeah, I have a feeling his work is going to be maybe defeating monsters with her, something that's also going to be teaching him the sword. I think she's going to be teaching him the sword from now on from the father, and I don't think he's going to see Sylphiette for a while.
Probably not, which I'm kind of curious of what's going to happen with Sylphiette in that case.
I think that Paul is maybe concerned more for Sylphiette than Rudy's on the part that like if Sylphiette just has everything done for her, she won't grow properly. I think that it's possible that Paul goes to Sylphiette even if we don't see it and maybe explains what happened to Rudius and being like, hey, if you want to see him again, start like training, like start working hard so you can get into this magic school. And then maybe by then Rudius will have earned the money enough to still pay for her, but at least she's like earned her way there. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's been established she's a pretty competent mage as it is. So, I mean, my big worries is like if those bullies come after her again, is one of them going to die?
I don't know. I hope that she's now smart enough to at least know how to.
I mean, I would hope,
bullies.
But
yeah, there's obviously some questions at the end. Some questions we'll probably get in the next couple of episodes. But yeah, that's what I think is going on. Anyways, I think this is going to be. Him learning the sword from this girl while doing a job because like he feels like he's not really learning that much from his father anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it could be one of those things where his father's trying to teach him a very specific sword style. Well, he might be more suited to something more like a Spellblade situation.
Or it's like anything, right? If you want to learn another language, you can achieve. Like if I wanted to learn Japanese, I could achieve what it would take me 5 years here by going to Japan for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
By actually by putting him to practical situations, by actually putting him out there having to use his sword skills, he'll grow a lot faster.
Yeah, the big problem is he's still going to use magic.
Yeah, but I think that maybe he's going to be in some sort of situation where it's going to be harder to use magic.
Yeah.
Or the lady who's with him is going to stop him.
Yeah, I mean, he has the advantage of non-incantated spells, which is going to make it harder to stop him, but...
It's true, but if it's like a job and there's something about the job where he can't use magic, I feel like he would actually, listen to those rules based to try and get the money and stuff like that. Probably a lot of stuff we're going to learn in the upcoming episodes, though. Still a very good episode, and I loved the first part of the episode with the plot because it was just so adult. And, I like adult things in anime. I'm a degenerate.
Yeah, you don't see that very often, like not in this context anyways. So.
Yeah, and obviously there's some, the 2 new daughters being born is pretty cool because when we do get Rudius, who's, 18 years old at some point, we're going to have some like 14-year-old, squire characters following him around as little sibling characters. So we might have a cool party one day.
That is true. I mean, we're also going to see characters like Roxy's going to come back.
Yeah.
Sylphiette's going to join him at some point.
Yeah, I assume Sylphia. I feel like Sylphiette's going to join him at the school. I feel like we're going to have a few episodes of whatever the hell this plot is going on now, and then we're going to skip ahead to him going to school. And the first time he's going to see here is either right before he joins school or when they join the school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess just keep an eye out. We're going to keep watching that, keep talking about it. So if you have any thoughts, theories, questions, anything, leave them down below like always. And now it's time for the very last thing on our list today, which is, of course, Attack on Titan, episode 68.
Assassin's Bullet.
Assassin's Bullet. there's a lot of things to talk about this episode. There are
Yeah.
things to address. One of the first things, we get a warning about mature content. We don't get that every episode, which is funny. I don't even think we got that last episode. If you're trying to tell me that today's episode was more
think
mature,
there was last.
Okay.
I was skimming through the episodes because I remember I watched it here last week, so I wasn't caught up on my Funimation.
Yeah, just to remind you, last episode, Aaron used another Titan's mouth to crush a person and then drink their guts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was. I think we just didn't pay attention to it.
Okay. Yeah, this week it stood out to me a lot more for some reason.
I think it might have been just because this was supposed to be them retreating.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit disappointed because last week we were, thinking, are we getting another Aaron versus Reiner MMA fight?
And no.
It literally goes one punch from Aaron right at the start. Reiner goes down. He's not defeated, but then Aaron's like, we don't have enough strength left for this. We don't have enough resources.
Yeah.
It's Reiner achieved his goal anyways. He took the punch, but then Aaron notices that he saved, Porco.
Yeah.
He rescued him from getting immediately guffed by Aaron. So then Aaron kind of gets out. Him and Mikasa fly back to the blimp. All the rest of the scouts are slowly going back to the blimp as well.
Yeah.
And then we have Gabby and Falco run off because, Gabby wants to kill Aaron Yeager,
Yeah, I mean, I think a fair thing. You just watched a couple of your friends die, a bunch of people get murdered, so...
Yeah, so, we have a couple different character interactions. Obviously, Aaron lands on the blimp. First person he sees is Levi. Levi gives him a good old... Is it a punch or a kick?
Kick.
Okay, yeah, because Aaron's down there. It makes sense to give him a kick.
Yeah, it's a callback to when he first kicked him in the face.
He gives him a kick, and that's our first indication of the fact that this was not 100% planned.
Yeah.
We already knew that there was a chance that it wasn't fully planned, but it seems like they must have had some plan because they came together pretty quickly on this.
Yeah, there's probably already some sort of assault plan in place if it came down to it, but they probably weren't planning to put it into play.
Yeah, but obviously they're kind of mad at Aaron because he has now forced their hand. Which later I think at one point Hanj comes out and explains that they anytime Aaron gets captured they have to go rescue him. So Aaron literally made himself a hostage in this situation, so they have to come rescue him, starting this war. Aaron I guess was a little impatient.
Yeah, I mean he is on a ticking clock, so
that's true. Yeah, I don't know. It almost seems like it would have been worth it to wait an extra year and wait to whoever gets the new Beast Titan or that kind of situation because they wouldn't be as good as Zeke. Whoever gets the new Armor Titan, you have less experienced people in these Titans.
In theory, yeah, but at the same time, you were still going to have the situation where the world was kind of being united against them.
That's true.
So it's a matter of whether they go to war with them or they go to war with, who initiates.
Yeah. So that was a big part. It shows that Levi is a little bit mad. We can obviously see even Armin looks a little disappointed because he was just forced to nuke an entire pier, including children and stuff.
Yeah.
They all look a little bit mad, a little disappointed, and then Levi does get Aaron tied up. So Aaron, it's not just he's not chilling there. They literally tie him up and bring him to the main area or whatever. The I don't know if they bring him to the brig or the cockpit or.
I don't think it was any specific part. I think it was just a room.
Yeah, and then obviously you get Connie, Jean, and Sasha have a little bit of a nice little meeting there. Connie's like, oh, I'm so glad. He's like, hey, he's like, I shouldn't say this. But I'm much happier. I'm happy you guys are alive specifically.
Yeah, which what the fuck, Connie? Why would you say that?
Because but he only says it to them, and they have this bond because they're all part of the specific crew and stuff like that.
I know, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But then I know what you're talking about. But
can you put a bigger death flag on any group of people?
I mean, probably. You could probably put a bigger one.
Aren't you happy you're going to be getting married tomorrow and you retire next week?
Aren't you happy you just bought these new shoes?
Fucking Fire Force.
But yeah, so he's just happy that they're all alive. Thank God. And then we're still getting this Gabby and Falco pursuing scene. There's this nice scout who was part of the
he was originally part of the garrison.
He's like, what need do we have for garrison anymore? He's trying to do his job. He's trying to help out the world. He's out there fighting. And then, of course, Gabby does a fucking sliding shot right to his face.
Yeah. Even she was kind of surprised it hit.
Yeah. Takes him out, and then she figures out what his little gun thing does. She's like, oh, it'll take me up there. As she explains, she's like, she obviously realizes that she's going to die. So she's like, oh, Falco, tell Reiner, and then what I did, tell my parents, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, say I fought to the end. And
yeah, and then, as she's about to go up, Falco has the thought of him talking to Reiner again about how he wants to save her and that kind of stuff. So he literally grabs onto her and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I'm going to be the Armored Titan. And then they both fly up and you know what? They land and I'm like, hey, you know what's gonna? Is she gonna try and find Eren Yeager here and snipe him? Because that's what I kind of remember from the next time scene.
Yeah.
No, she just does a little roll right on the place and then just kind of shoots Sasha right in the fucking. It looked like right in the heart or right below the heart.
Yeah, it was.
It was very heart area left side.
It was a center of mass shot. It was a kill shot.
Yeah. So obviously people aren't very happy with that. They immediately go and kick the shit out of the two of them, tie them up. And then Connie and Jean are kind of panicking a little bit. They get some bandages. They're bandaging her up.
Yeah.
And then they, Gabby starts going on about how they're fucking devil people and they're the real Eldians who will prevail and all this kind of shit. And then Jean's just like, she's like, I'm gonna tell Eren all this stuff. And he's like, go to Eren. He's like, take her to Eren. You tell him that kind of stuff. So they take Gabby and Falco to Eren, and big reveal as soon as they walk in is that obviously in this episode early on, Gabby mentions that like Zeke's dead. There was no way Zeke was dead. If anything, we just would have guessed he was still on the ground, not dead.
I mean, I think they just kind of assumed that they wouldn't survive that type of abuse.
Yeah. And then when they walk in, they see Zeke. They're a little bit confused. To me, when they first walked in, I would just see that as Zeke was captured and was taken prisoner.
I think it's because he wasn't tied up.
Yeah, that might have been it. Like, so there's some big
chilling.
questions here because then Zeke starts going on about how like, the acting of Levi was like really good. Like he actually believed that Levi wanted to kill him, and Levi's like, "Oh, I'm just saving the fucking best bite for last." But like, and like now, so many questions about this. So fucking Zeke is literally a fucking double agent, and is this just a recent thing? Like,
I think it is. I think because I mean, there's no way this was the case when he attacked Paradise.
Yeah,
before.
there's no way. So I mean, obviously, but like the thing is, are you sure it wasn't though? Because the whole thing, Zeke turned in his parents because they were part of this like Eldian rebellion force, or whatever the fuck it was called.
The Eldian restorationists.
So believing that the Eldians are like the superior race, and Marley fucked them over, and they're the original girl. The fuck was her name? Is the same name as the other girl? I can't remember right now.
Oh, wait.
The girl who was the one who had all the Titans and split. She has She has the same name as the
Historia?
No, she has the same name as the small jaw Titan.
Oh my god, Amir.
Amir, yeah, that's her name. I couldn't remember for a second.
Why did I say Historia? Jesus.
But yeah, so they believe that she was good, while the Marleyans say that she was bad and tried to fuck them all over. And then in this one, what you see Zeke say is he says that like, it basically implies that like he just wants like the Eldians to win. He wants the Eldians to be superior. Yeah. So it seems like he is planning this with them. Not like specifically betraying Marley, but it's just about him making the Eldian race survive. So that could be that's like something that would have been the same principle of what his parents believed in.
Yeah, this might be something where like
this might be a deep double agent. Like he could have turned them in as a kid to eventually be able to. I mean, I don't think that they would have been on that plan because we would have seen that in
this would have been him trying to get favor to try and do this later on.
Yeah, this like maybe all of his parents were telling him because they were constantly feeding him about how these Eldians are actually the best, and then he decided to turn them over anyways, like believing like the other teaching he's getting at schools and stuff like that. But it's very possible that he actually did agree with them, and then he turns them over for this fucking long ass play about getting favor so that one day he could actually rise up because he didn't think that in his parents' current position they could do it. So that's if that's true, that's a long play. He's thinking like 300 moves ahead.
I mean, I still have to question the logic of him decimating the Paradise Island forces the way he did.
The question is, when did he communicate this with them? We assume it must be on something to do with some of those scout ships that went over.
Yeah. Because
in this, we also got the reveal of, well, okay, it's not really much of a reveal to us, but the soldier that we were questioning, the blonde one with the fake beard, it obviously wasn't Annie or Armin, as we learned pretty fast when we got introduced to Armin and stuff like that. But it was just a soldier who was part of the Eldian forces on Marley who was sent over one of the scout ships that went missing. Yeah. So at some point, those scout ships started working for them, which I can only assume is by the hand of Zeke.
That is definitely possible. And
because he's their battle chief. Who else would have that kind of pull?
Yeah, because I mean, one of the things too is like we don't know if the scout ships were captured and these are just convertees, or
well, they also specifically mentioned that like when Peak was talking about who that girl was, she said it was like a follower of Zeke. She specifically said it was like Zeke's like biggest fan kind of thing. So that's 100% Zeke plan. So at some point, he sent these people over. And okay, did you watch the next time episode?
I don't think I saw it. No.
Okay, it is very much going to be a flashback of some time in between the 4 years. You're seeing the scouts chilling. Yeah. You're seeing a shorter hair Eren. You're probably going to see one of these scout ships. So this is going to be the episode probably at some point where Zeke's going to send these scouts over and they're going to explain this plan or something.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to get a lot of information, but
yeah, they're definitely going to give us a little bit of context for what the hell's going on.
But yeah, that is a big twist that Zeke is not a bad guy currently. Like he might not be on the good side.
Yeah.
He just has his own thing going on, but that is definitely a twist that this whole like him dying to Levi there was staged. He's had something to do with his plan. He's been working with them for who knows how long, especially we know at least since they've sent those scout ships. So yeah, there's a lot of questions there. And then obviously when they're having this conversation, Falco and Gabby are probably both, mentally destroyed because this is like their big hero.
It turns out it was working against them, and everything in this fight was actually all planned.
Yeah, and not to mention then, as soon as they're kind of learning these revelations, that kind of stuff, they come in and they announce that Sasha is dead. So goodbye, Sasha.
Not the one I would have picked for a character death.
No, they needed a character death, and when I saw the warning, I was like, okay, a character's dying this episode, but I would have guessed it was going to be Jean. That probably would have been my number one guess. I wouldn't guess Connie. I would have just guessed Jean, to be honest. It would have been my guess out of all those characters.
See, I probably would have put it to Connie, just because Jean seemed to be the one who has the most apprehension about this whole war, and they're not going to off the voice of reason.
I mean, all of the original scouts look like they have apprehension. It's just all like the new ones who were like, yeah, we killed them. We only lost 6 men. We're the best.
Yeah, the new ones definitely have a weird mentality about them. Like, they're very much indoctrinated into this.
Yeah.
Well, the old crew is very much like, we've seen shit calm down.
Yeah. But yeah, so Sasha is dead. Very sad. It shows then, as soon as it's mentioned that Sasha was even shot, Armin and Mikasa both run out to try and help her and that kind of stuff, just to see her. Then when it comes into they're dead, they show a scene of her dying and them crying over her and that kind of stuff. And then, Aaron asks, what were her last words? And Jean's like, meat. And then, originally you're like, okay, like that's just a stupid Sasha thing, fun eating stuff. But then it shows like a little flashback of her explaining something to Aaron, basically being like, when the war's over, when we're at peace, we can, have all this extra land to grow extra cattle.
More cattle.
Like
yeah.
Yeah. So in Aaron's mind, he's using that meat last word as to be like we got to win this thing.
Yeah.
And it shows him start to laugh. Everybody kind of looks like at him like he's going crazy.
I wasn't sure if he was laughing or crying, honestly.
It started as like a laugh because I think it's just like a classic Sasha, like.
Yeah, and then he has a little flashback realizing exactly the context.
And then it shows like his like pained face. Like he's actually like, finally we're getting emotion out of Aaron, which is really good because he's obviously taken quite a turn in these 4 years, which we'll probably see more of in the next episode.
Yeah, and they even specifically say to him, it's like, this is your fault.
Yeah,
right?
Jean literally looks at him. He's like, if you didn't do this, Sasha wouldn't have died. So Aaron's got a little bit of pain faced, and that's where the episode ends. And then if you watch the next time, it looks anyways like it's going to be an explanation of somewhere in these past 4 years, probably explaining those scout shifts, explaining when they started working with Zeke, because that's a pretty important piece of information going forward.
Yeah, because knowing exactly when Zeke basically swapped sides and started actually helping the Paradise Island is.
I do also find it interesting.
Huge development.
One thing I didn't guess going into the season is that they'd be returning to Paradise Island. They're taking this blimp all the way back, and what they're doing now is the plan is now basically they're going back and they're preparing over the next year or so for this war, for all these people to come attack.
Yeah.
So I thought this entire season was going to take place in like the Marleyan continent, basically, of them being on the attack force, but they attacked to start the war with the entire world, and now they're going back and they're going to draw all of them into them. So we're going back to the their base, which makes sense. We're going to see characters like Historia again and what's going on with the kingdom and stuff like that. How they've advanced. We've seen just in their suits how much their technology.
Yeah, it's a completely different mindset because they're not Titan fighters anymore.
Yeah, and it's the same thing though. Like we've learned that they're like 100 years or something behind Marley when it comes to technology. They're still using wagons while Marley's got cars. Stuff like that. Have they now advanced more?
I feel like they would have stolen some of the tech because even things like Thunder Spears and the ODM gear has a certain level of technological advancement that I don't even think Marley has at this point.
Yeah, well, they seem to be always really surprised about it when they show up. So
yeah, because I mean, the Thunder Spears are basically just short range missiles that can be fired by hand.
Yeah.
So they've invented RPGs while Marley's using cannons.
Yeah, and they also Marley was very surprised at how good the the scouts were with their maneuver gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, but like now we're going to see the entire world go to war, which means like it's going to be, what's the timeline? Obviously, you can't just, after such a big thing like that, Marley can't just immediately rally the world and go out. They need to plan. Yeah. Especially from their perspective, they lost at least 2 Titans.
Yeah. Plus their fleet was decimated.
They lost their war chief, which, they're probably going to think is dead. They lost all of their warrior candidates except for Colt.
Yeah.
Um,
Which, I mean, Colt's probably going to end up with the Armor Titan at this point.
yeah, you'd guess, right? It'd have to.
Because, I mean, what do they have left? They've got the Jaw Titan, the Armor Titan, and the Cart Titan.
I'm excited to see if Porco is stops being such an asshole to Reiner now. Now that Reiner just saved him.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, you were about to get eaten and I saved your ass is a pretty good card to play.
Porco could just keep being an asshole, though. He could dive full in. You either got to back out or go all in, and he might just choose the all in option.
Yeah, he could very much just say that this changes nothing. And
yeah, he might honestly still somewhat blame, like once he finds out about the Reiner talking to Aaron, he might blame Reiner or something. But
yeah.
There's a lot of questions. Next episode, we're going to get a flashback episode, I'm pretty sure, which will explain some of the Zeke betrayal, how long. I'm starting to think that it has been the entire time. Just saying. It's possible.
Yeah. I mean...
But now the big thing about this that Zeke points out is that they now have the Founding Titan and they have Royal Blood.
Yeah, so that's the big problem with that is they've already killed all the Titans on their island, so...
It's true, but I
guess within the walls, technically. But
yeah, the thing is that they might... I would hate to say that they're going to use it after they've been so scarred by Titan attacks, but with Zeke, they also now have the potential of making a Titan army out of people on Paradise Island, using his spinal fluid with the Coordinator Titan.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll go... Like, Aaron might at this point.
Because this could be... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Aaron and Zeke definitely will. They're just committed to doing this. It might be hard to convince other people, but we're talking like with Zeke's spinal fluid, they're better than regular Titans. They can move in the night and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And with the Coordinator powers, they can 100% control them to be like a flawless army. So I think that's a good possibility we're getting that. But obviously we're going to have a lot of characters throughout the show, like Mikasa and Armin and stuff, obviously already disappointed with Aaron and how far he's going to lose his humanity. And that might be something they get really disappointed at.
Yeah, which, I mean, even just mentioning that, if you look at Aaron in his Titan form, he looks a lot more monstrous than he used to.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that with Reiner, he looked a lot more human?
Yeah, I mean, he lost a lot of his weird facial structure. He did gain a few spikes, but...
Yeah, but he looked a lot more like a human wearing armor as opposed to a monster designed to destroy shit.
I am wondering when we're going to see Aaron use the Warhammer Titan powers. Yeah. That's always interesting. Once again, we still need the question about Annie to be answered.
Yeah, I was honestly kind of disappointed when we found out it wasn't Annie who was wearing the
suit.
I
know it's when we found out it was a girl with the beard, it still looked like Annie. I'm like, that could have been Annie, except for maybe the height, because she was a lot taller. But
I mean, we don't know. Like,
could be wearing stilts. Could be Annie on stilts.
I feel like Annie was always tall, but
nah, she wasn't that tall.
That might have been just because she knocked everyone on her ass all the time.
She might have been tall when they started the Scouts because they weren't fully aged yet. And women always are taller than men up until a certain point, and then the men keep growing.
True.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see the next episode. I'm excited to see Zeke's backstory. I'm even seeing more about this girl that we thought was Annie. I'm going over on one of the Scout ships to then secretly be a betrayer. Like,
just knowing why these people were just perfectly cool. It's like, we'll betray him.
Yeah, Zeke would have already had to store up a group of Eldians and let them know in his plan about how they're gonna, betray Marley and for the good of Eldians and stuff like that. So he had to be doing this for who knows how long too.
Yeah, and done it in a way where the word didn't get out. He got all them onto the same ship.
Yep. Or multiple ships for all we know. They'd lost like 28 or 29 scout ships, right?
Yeah.
We assume they'd all been being destroyed. But if not, that just means they have 29 scout ships in Paradise Island worth of people who could be Zeke's Titans by now.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, because we saw a lot of almost like zealot level indoctrination with the...
Well, we see it with both sides, basically.
Yeah, but
we see people like Gabby, right, who are like, no, they're not even human, like, we're the good Eldians, and then we see it from the new scouts. Yeah. About like, oh no, like, look, we're superior to them. We're seeing it from both sides.
Yeah, like for all we know, a lot of the new scouts might be from those ships.
It's very possible still that, like, do you think we're turning Falco or Gabby with Zeke there now?
I don't know about Gabby. Gabby's out for blood.
It's true, but
even if she did turn, the fact that she killed Sasha,
yeah, that's we can definitely still see Falco.
Falco might make the shift.
Yeah, because I mean, if Zeke starts explaining about like why this is good for the good of Eldians, starts teaching them stuff about the Eldians and stuff like that, and tries to get through all that Marley and shit they've been taught all these years, it's possible. Yeah. Especially with them going back to Paradise now and seeing that these people are not all monsters. There's some humans there. Yeah. But if anything, I think that these scout ships are going to be filled with soldiers who are going to be Zeke's Titans at some point.
That is true. They might be, because with the amount of dedication some of these scouts have shown, they might volunteer to become Titans to fight.
It's true. If they just want to really win the war, some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, excited to see. Really excited for next episode because we get this backstory episode. If you have any thoughts, theories, anything like that, leave them down below as always. Attack on Titan, obviously a very big draw for theories because
it really is.
We are on the last season and we're almost halfway through now.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy seeing what happens in the next few episodes.
Yeah, it seems like we're going to get a backstory episode. We probably need something more relaxing after that. We need to see them get back to Paradise Island and see
they're gonna
what's been
distance
going
us.
on. Yeah, what's been going on with Paradise, basically. And then we need an episode explaining what the fuck Marley's doing now, how they're gathering their war, stuff like that, with missing so many integral pieces. So yeah, lots of information episodes before we get back to this like fucking huge war.
Yeah, it's going to be more world building and setup from here on out for a few episodes, I think, and then we're going to get the big conflict coming back. So
Yeah, which is pretty important. We kind of need both those aspects anyways.
yeah, we need to know what the fuck just happened.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you're a fan of Attack on Titan or any of the shows we talked about today, of course, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, any interactions appreciated.
It's good for the algorithm, of course. Yeah, I think that's about it for talking about these episodes.
I think so.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be back. As I said, we're also going to be coming out with a brief Q&A episode, probably Wednesday or Thursday this week after we can record it. So it's just going to be, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes long, depending on how long it takes us to answer some of the questions.
Yeah, just going over the list you guys provided to us.
Yeah, and then
I think we've got a decent list built up right now.
yeah, we've got a decent list built up. We should at least have about half an hour worth of content, if not more, if we go a little deep into some things. So look forward to that on Wednesday. It'll just kind of answer some questions since we are pulling in some new subscribers. So, you know, if you are one of the people who has been here since like the early episodes, you found us early on the subreddit, you might know some of this information, like our favorite anime and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll be touching base on a few things again, I think. But
yeah, either way, you'll get to know us a little bit better, and that's, you know, kind of important. Again, like always, if you know anybody who is interested in anime content like that, of course, you know, tell them to watch it. Or if you know any communities, like, you know, certain discords or subreddits, stuff like that, you can feel free to link our content. We would love that.
oh yeah,
And then, you know, if you are somebody who comes here from either Reddit or one of these other communities, let us know. That kind of information is just important so we could see how people are finding us.
yeah, knowing where people come from and exactly what's pulling people in is always a great thing. So
Yeah, exactly. We're going to keep trying to grow, so we're going to keep watching. Hopefully the views and stuff go up. That way we can just kind of, you know, spend a little bit more time putting this content out, putting a little bit more work into it. And it's just nice seeing, you know, your efforts be rewarded.
it is. I didn't think we'd ever hit 1,000 views. Not
No,
this
we went
quickly.
from, we were getting like, I was happy when we were getting 50 views in like it was only like 8 weeks ago now. Once Attack on Titan started airing, the views went up to around like the 200 area, like 250, which that was obviously a huge boost, and we loved that. And then once we started this new season with, you know, Kumodesu and Promise Neverland, ReZero starting back up, and that kind of stuff, the last couple episodes were at about like the, you know, 600 episodes, and the next one was 700 episodes, and the next one was like 750. And then, first one last week hit 1K. So this time we're going to aim for 1K again. Might be hard, but we're going to try it.
Here's
so,
hoping. I mean, we've even crossed over 100 subscribers, which is why we're doing the Q&A. So
yeah, even then it took us, you know, like 4 months to hit like the 50 subscribers, and then it took us 2 episodes to hit the 100. And then I think since the last episode we gained 32. So, you know, that's pretty good. So we're just going to, obviously, next goal is going to be 1,000. That's the next big one. Just going to try and hit the 1,000, try and get the watch time minutes. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're watching, once again, just subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. Helps us out. And once again, guys, I've been Cam.
I've been Jimmy.
And take it easy, guys. We'll see you next week for next episode. And we'll see you in the Q&A if you stop by.
We will. Peace.